Hey there, and welcome to Weeb Novel Audiobook, your hub for epic fanfics, original stories, and thrilling adventures brought to life. Make sure to subscribe for regular updates and swing by my Patreon for early access and exclusive mature content. Now, sit back and enjoy the journey.
Chapter 81, Joining the Hunt. Maybe I'm really just overthinking everything? After all, while he had pointed out the hideout of all the golems we have killed so far, he had also pointed out empty spaces as well. Mia thought to herself as she reached a conclusion that Alex might be pointing out randomly out of nervousness and just happened to point accurately at times. While this sort of coincidence sounded unbelievable, it was the only suggestion that made sense. How else would an adept mage have better sensing abilities than her who was in the expert mage rank? She turned her gaze away and focused on the rest of the group. Alex glanced at her at this moment and a small grin formed on his face. He could guess what she was thinking, but he wasn't an idiot to get caught so easily. During the past hours, Alex had pointed more at empty places more times than he had pointed out the camouflaging earth golems. This was to make it appear like he was really pointing randomly because he was nervous, and any odd-looking rock made him uncomfortable, and even after he was repeatedly told not to be nervous, Joan and the others, he didn't stop. I don't know if I should consider your nervousness a good thing or a bad thing, but you sure are the best beast detector I've ever seen. Joan glanced at Alex and said with a giggle. The others also laughed at this. It's hard to even tell that the youngest is nervous, he looks very calm. It's all right to be nervous, anyone would naturally be nervous the first time they leave the city. True, true. The youngest is doing better than expected, he isn't screaming or trembling like some people. He, right. Alex just smiled in response. Nervous? What a joke, he would have killed more beasts than the entire group had killed during the last few hours if he was alone. After they finished storing everything, the group resumed walking. Leader, why don't we let Alex join us in killing the earth golems next time? He doesn't need to get close to them, and we can prevent any of them from approaching him. This can be considered a form of training for him, too. Besides, the space element isn't weak, I believe he can manage. As they walked, Phil suddenly threw his left arm around Alex's shoulders and said to Mia, he flashed an honest smile with his entire set of teeth showing. I agree, too, Alex had easily killed that ant back then. These golems aren't stronger than those ants. Joan immediately supported. She had seen Alex use the space element before and knew how strong he was. He wasn't weaker than the rest of them and just needed to gain experience. I support the idea, let the youngest join us. I want to see the space element in action. Right? I've never seen anyone with the space element before, only a few people have the space element in Balan City, and they aren't people we can easily meet. True, let the youngest fight too. Following Joan's words, the rest members of the group immediately voiced their agreement for Alex to join them in killing beasts. Many of them were eager to see the space element in action, while others agreed that it was a good chance for him to gain experience as an explorer. Mia didn't object to this and agreed easily. She said that she had the same thought in mind and was going to have Alex join them later on. The only reason she hadn't asked him to join sooner was because she wanted him to watch first. Great, Joan clapped her hands together in delight and turned to Alex before saying, you can attack freely, I'll make sure none of them gets close to you. Thank you. Alex flashed a grateful smile, Joan covered her mouth and giggled happily. She felt like an elder sister. Well, this is a pleasant surprise, I guess I'll be able to gain some EXP points after all. Alex thought to himself as he summoned his system profile and glanced at his EXP, 80/100, he was 20 EXP points away from reaching the next rank. What was after the Master Mage rank? It was the Archmage rank. The Archmage rank, Alex was in a daze. Even from the memories of the previous Alex, the only knowledge of the Archmage rank that he knew was from books. He had never seen anyone in this rank before. It was even said that only 10% of mages could reach this rank after many years, others had to spend tens of years of hard work and consume a great number of resources before they could reach it. "Alex, what are you thinking about?" A voice sounded in Alex's head at this moment, pulling him out of his thoughts. Alex blinked, realizing that he had zoned out just now. He looked at who had called him and saw Mia staring at him with a puzzled look. "What's it?" "More earth golems have appeared." Mia lazily pointed ahead. Alex turned to look and saw a few earth golems coming out of a large hole in an extremely large rock. The rock was quite some distance away, but the earth golems had already sighted them and were rushing over. Roar! Bam! 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 The ground shook under the weight of the golems as they ran over. "Go on, take out a few." Mia gave Alex a light push on the back, causing him to take some steps forward. He was now standing beside Phil and a few others. "Come on, youngest. Take the first kill." A muscular man grinned and said to Alex, his eyes flashing with anticipation. Alex nodded and stretched out his right hand as stars appeared above him the next moment before quickly connecting into a silver-white star pattern that let out blinding light. "Telekinesis," Alex uttered, his eyes changing from blue to silver-white. In the distance, the earth golem that was rushing over at the forefront suddenly came to an abrupt stop in an awkward posture. It was as if an invisible hand had suddenly caught it mid-run. The golem roared and tried to break free, but it was only able to move one of its rock arms. After catching the earth golem, Alex lifted his hand. In sync with Alex's hand movement, the golem rose into the air and quickly reached a height of over 7 meters in the air. "Wow!" A few members behind Alex exclaimed in astonishment as they watched. After getting the golem to a desirable height, Alex brought down his hand with force as if he were slamming down on something. At the same time, the earth golem that was still struggling in the air suddenly shot down at a shocking speed. Boom! It came hurling towards the ground like a meteorite and crashed in the center of the other earth golems that were charging at Alex and his group. The sound was deafening as the ground trembled from the impact. A cloud of dust rose into the air as pieces of rocks and sand were sent flying in all directions. In front of Alex, 3 notifications immediately appeared, one after the other. Mission complete, 10 EXP. Times 3 he had used that one earth golem to kill 2 more. Chapter 82, Beasts Everywhere, EXP points. The dust was forcefully dispersed by the remaining earth golems that charged out of it and kept running toward the group of explorers. Everyone temporarily ignored the charging golems and looked at the scene behind them. The place where the earth golem had crashed into had formed a small pit that was 6 meters wide. Remains of earth golems and 3 shiny mana cores lay about in the pit. Amazing! He actually killed 3 of them with a single spell. As expected of the space element, our youngest is impressive. The others, except Mia, Joan, and Phil, who had already seen Alex in action before, exclaimed when they saw the pit and the state of the 3 earth golems. They were shocked. Although they could kill 1 or 2 of these earth golems by themselves, it would require them to cast a few spells to get the job done. But Alex had killed 3 by using one of them as a cannon. In this regard, even Mia and the other 2 were stunned. Without a doubt, Alex was most likely the second strongest person in their team. Alex smiled and ignored what they were saying as he focused on his system profile. He now had 110 EXP points after killing those 3 beasts and could now level up. But I'll have to wait till I get back. I won't be able to hide the changes brought by the breakthrough if I level up here. Alex decided as he returned his focus to the incoming golems. Joan had used freezing breath and had frozen an area of 20 meters in front of them. Without the support of the water element like the last time, the freezing power of Joan's spells was as powerful as before and had only covered the ground in a small layer of ice that was only a few centimeters thick. But this was enough to slow down the incoming earth golems and restrict their movements as the ice covered their stone feet and their bodies were covered in frost. causing their movements to become stiff. The golems were only able to forcefully break free and approach the group due to their great strength, but this had given the group enough time to act as spells flew out the next moment and drowned the golems. Less than 10 seconds later, all the ice had been destroyed by the rain of spells along with the earth golems trapped in it. The group proceeded to store the remains and mana cores before they resumed moving. Just like that, time passed slowly as they continued to move around the golem valley and kill earth golems. Alex also got more opportunities to use spells as well while Mia continued to follow them like a spectator. These earth golems were not just worth her taking actions personally. Hours passed and it was already afternoon. The group found a tilted huge boulder with a long shadow to rest under. They had been killing earth golems for hours, and their soul seas were running out of mana. They had to rest to gather some. Unlike Alex, who was at the Master Mage rank and had an enormous soul sea, the others were only at the Adept Mage rank. Their soul seas would naturally run out of mana after casting spells for so long. Phil, Joan, and the others found slightly big rocks to sit on and close their eyes to meditate while Mia volunteered to keep watch. She hadn't done anything during the past hours, so she didn't need to gather mana. Alex was also told to rest since he had been casting spells for some time too. While Alex didn't need to, he didn't object and sat in a corner with his eyes closed. He wasn't absorbing mana, though, since the mana he would manually absorb would just scatter in his body instead of going to his soul sea. After closing his eyes, Alex summoned his system. Almighty Path System, Error, Host, Alex Zorin Level, 19 EXP for next level, 660/100, Error, Rank, Peak Stage, Master Mage Rank Elements, Space. Lightning Special Abilities, Dual Element Body, the host can use 2 elements. Void Walk. Over 600 EXP. Alex had killed almost 50 earth golems within the past few hours. He had to admit that the magic beast in the Golem Valley was very abundant, and farming EXP here would be far better than in his former location. Earth golems were crawling in almost every corner and he didn't even need to search for them as he could easily detect lots of them with his high senses as a top mage. Alex didn't dare to imagine how fast he would level up if he came here by himself and could kill magic beasts within being watched. He was very excited as this was the most EXP he had ever gotten since he started to level up. Not just that, the amount of mana cores and earth golems remains were also a lot. Some of the storage rings that they had brought were already filled up. If he came to a place like this, not only would he level up faster, but he would be able to make a lot of money as well. With this amount of EXP, I can directly cross the Archmage rank and even reach the Grand Archmage rank. Alex thought to himself excitedly. For some reason, the thought of Dan surfaced in his mind at this moment and he remembered about the kidnapping. If he became a Grand Archmage, wouldn't it become easier for him to look for the missing children? He wouldn't need to fear the Dark Union as well. What could they possibly do to a Grand Archmage? Alex quickly realized his confident line of thinking and immediately scolded himself. He was starting to get too confident again. According to what he understood from Mia, the Dark Union was a problem for the Union and mages all over the planet. Was there a shortage of powerful mages who were above the Grand Archmage rank? The answer was no. Although such powerful experts were only 1% of humanity's population, there should still be a few thousand of them who had reached the Grand Archmage rank and even those who had surpassed the Sage rank. If those old monsters couldn't do anything to the Dark Union even after so many years, what gave him, Alex, the right to be confident? But then again, that didn't mean that he was going to give up on looking for the missing children. After all, he had promised Dan that he would save his daughter. He just had to be careful when looking for them and not court death. Sigh, how I wish there was a skill or spell that could help me search a large area. Alex sighed as he withdrew the system profile. While in thought, an idea popped up in Alex's mind. A skill that could help scan a large area, something like the mana sense of mages but more detailed. Wait, wouldn't that be considered a part of the space? Alex did not dare to finish his thought as excitement boiled inside of him. He had a bold idea and immediately summoned a system skill that he had only used once. Skill, Craftsman, create a spell. Please select which element the host wants to craft a spell for. Space element / lightning element. Chapter 83, Surrounded. Skill, Craftsman, create a spell. Please select which element the host wants to craft a spell for. Space element / lightning element. The interface for the Craftsman skill appeared in Alex's mind along with the options. He immediately chose the space element. Selected, space element, please choose a crafting option, customized crafting / auto craft. Alex picked the customized crafting option. Selected, customized, please describe the spell that you want to craft. Alex proceeded to explain the idea that he had in mind to the system. Almost a minute passed before Alex finished explaining everything. Next, the system's interface showed the crafting notification, and Alex began to wait in anticipation. He had only used the skill once and didn't know if it was possible for a crafting to fail. After all, the spell that he was trying to craft was something he had read about in his previous life and was something that only godlike beings were supposed to possess. This made Alex nervous and excited at the same time, nervous that the crafting might fail and excited because he would gain an overpowered scouting ability if it worked. Time slowly passed and Alex's face was soon twisted with a confused look. It had been over 10 minutes but the interface of the system still showed that the skill was still crafting. Why was it taking so long this time? Alex didn't know and could only wait. At this moment, Mia stood up and clapped her hands, waking everyone from their meditative state. "All right, that's enough rest, let's get moving," Mia voiced out. Everyone immediately stood up. No one complained since they had gathered enough mana to last them through the rest of the hunt. Some even joked with each other. "My absorbing speed is still the fastest, I almost recovered my soul sea to the brim." "Almost, how weak. I fully recovered a long time ago and was already starting to push my soul sea to the next stage." Yeah. Keep bragging, like you aren't still at the adept rank." The atmosphere was jovial as they resumed walking. Soon, they came across another group of earth golems. Alex and the others once again went to work while Mia watched from the back. Reweebnal.c Sigma M. In a different part of the Golem Valley, a group of 11 people could be seen inside a huge pit that was 5 meters deep and over 10 meters wide. Around the pit were large boulders that surrounded it from all directions, making the pit look like a gigantic well. These 11 people were none other than Selena and the other members of the Rising Wave group. Simon was also present. Currently, the group were busy storing the remains and mana cores of the earth golems that they had killed. They had found a group of earth golems not far away, but the golems had fled after some of them were killed. The group chased after them and arrived at this pit where tens of the golems were residing. With a place to concentrate their firepower, the group had bombarded the pit with their destructive spells, killing all the earth golems in a shower of spells. After storing some of the mana cores, Selena stood up and stretched her arms before taking out her phone and looking at it. It was already 1600 hours. "We should contact the leader soon after finishing here, it's getting late." Selena turned to stare at Simon, who was not far away from her. The latter glanced at her and nodded in agreement. They had reaped a huge profit from the earth golem today, and going back to Balan City right now wouldn't dissatisfy anyone. Luckily, they didn't encounter any of the lizard men or the rumored earth golem that was at the mutated rank. Selena looked away after seeing the other party nod his head, her eyes as tired looking as always as she glanced at the rest members of the group who were almost done storing the remains. At this moment, however, Selena noticed something that caused her eyebrows to crease. She stared at a woman who was standing at the edge of the pit and picking up the rocks from the remains of the earth golems. In particular, Selena was staring at the woman's shadow. Something seemed to have overlapped with the shadow of the woman. This new shadow had a reptile-shaped head like a spoon and 3 arms spread out. 2 arms poked out from one side of its body while a single arm came from the other side. All 3 hands were holding what seemed to be a stick. Selena's eyes widened the next moment as a name appeared in her mind, and without even looking up, she dashed toward the woman while shouting, "Lizard men, watch out!" Swoosh! Selena's speed was so fast that except for Simon, the others didn't see when she moved clearly. The woman whose shadow had been overlapped raised her head with a jolt after hearing Selena's voice. She was shocked when she saw that Selena had already reached her. But before she could speak, she saw Selena's body burst out with violent mana and purple stars appeared around them before quickly connecting. Lightning ball. Selena called out as a watermelon-sized lightning orb formed in her right hand, which she threw out. Everyone stared at her actions in astonishment and puzzlement, wondering what was going on. However, bang! The lightning ball that Selena had thrown out earlier collided with something mid-air and exploded. The lightning ball and whatever it had clashed with had cancelled each other. Everyone else. They were under attack. As experienced explorers, the others didn't need to be told twice before realizing what was going on. Simon was the fastest to act. As a fellow team leader, his reaction speed was faster than that of the others. The instant Selena threw that lightning ball, he had already formed two golden star patterns of the light element. Light ray! Simon shouted the moment the lightning ball exploded in the air. Whoosh! A dazzling golden ray shot out from his star patterns the moment in the direction that Selena had thrown her lightning ball in. The golden ray was like a fast ball of sunlight that shot through the air at bullet speed and flew to the top of the pit. A piercing sound rang out a split second later as the golden ray tore through the upper body of a three-armed reptile creature that was standing on top of one of the numerous large boulders that surrounded the pit. Its three arms were still spread out as it held what looked like brown sticks in each hand. It stood for a few moments as blood gushed out from the gaping hole in its body before falling backwards. While all of this was happening, the 11 people in the pit had already grouped together as they stood in a way that allowed each one of them to observe a direction to avoid another ambush. Immediately after seeing the headless reptile fall to the ground after its chest and head were blown off by Simon's spell, everyone rushed out of the pit and landed on the large boulders before looking outside. Their faces revealed shocked expressions as the eyes of some people trembled. They were surrounded. Chapter 84, Lizardmen. The lizard men were reptile-type magic beasts that were able to stand on their two legs like humans and had builds that were similar to humans. Their bodies were covered in greenish scales, and they could survive in areas such as the Golem Valley, where everywhere was covered in rocks. The greenish scales on the bodies of the lizard men acted as thin body armor for them, shielding them from not just the harsh weather but also resisting attacks. Another characteristic of the lizard men was their three arms. Every one of these beasts had two arms poking out from one side of their bodies while a single arm grew from the other side. The location of the two arms was not fixed and was different for every lizard man. Some had their two arms on their left side while others had them on their right side. As for the stick-like objects in their hands, those were scale spikes produced from the bodies of the lizard men and what they used to attack other creatures. They could create these spikes by shedding potions of their scales. These spikes would then contain mana residue that would explode after making contact with their targets. As for the certain number of spikes that a lizard man could create, no one knew. Selena's eyes narrowed as she stared from where she was standing. She took a glance at her surroundings. They were surrounded on all sides by an army of lizard men. There were probably hundreds of them. This is going to be troublesome. She clicked her tongue, a hint of frustration in her voice. All of these lizard men were at the common beast rank, so she naturally wasn't afraid. What she was worried about was the behavior of these creatures. Not only were lizard men known to have high agility amongst magic beasts of the same rank, but they also had a level of intelligence which made them cunning. Unlike other beasts, these lizards could think. "Let's contact the others, we can't handle them by ourselves," Simon said to Selena with a matter-of-fact tone as he stared at the army of lizard men with a serious face. Selena nodded and was about to take out her phone when the sound of cutting wind interrupted her. She quickly tilted her head to the side and a scale spike flew past her, causing her hair to blow in the air. Selena's eyes flashed with a sharp glint. She looked at the army of reptiles below, and her eyes landed on a 2-meter-tall lizard man who still had one of his hands stretched out in a throwing motion. Its spoon-shaped head held 2 large yellow eyes that rolled at Selena. This damned lizard! Selena cursed in her heart as her eyes blazed with purple light, and arcs of lightning flashed across her face. Boom! Her body exploded with mana the next instant as stars appeared around her before forming 2 purple star patterns. Seeing this action, the army of lizard men knew that the human was about to attack and immediately took action. Many of them launched their spikes at Selena with insane accuracy. Tens of greenish spikes seemed to align into a single large spike that shot toward Selena on top of the boulder, but how could their throwing speed be faster than Selena's casting speed? Lightning strike. Selena mumbled coldly while pointing at the lizard men below her, her eyes blazing with purple light and a gust of wind blowing around her. The next moment, a thin thread of violent purple lightning shot out from the star patterns and zigzagged toward the ground. The lightning thread first made contact with the numerous spikes, instantly destroying them before continuing down. Boom! The lightning struck the lizard man that had thrown the first spike at Selena, instantly obliterating it and causing a small explosion that sent the surrounding lizardmen flying. They crashed into the ground and some of them convulsed violently as the residue of the lightning strike terrorized their bodies. Seeing this, the remaining lizardmen immediately shifted backwards and created more distance between themselves and the ring of giant boulders that the humans were standing on. Taking this opportunity, Selena immediately took out her phone and contacted Mia. Communication was swiftly connected and Selena quickly informed Mia of their situation. They were surrounded by a large number of lizard men. "Release a signal, we'll come to you as soon as possible." Mia's voice sounded from the other side before the phone was disconnected. Selena kept her phone before informing the others that she had contacted Mia. The others let out a sigh of relief after hearing this. As long as the leader came, then the situation would easily be resolved. After all, the leader was an expert rank mage. A single spell from her would be able to wipe out tens of common rank magic beasts. She would only need a few spells to greatly reduce the numbers of these lizard men. They would be able to take care of the rest after that. Although lizard men are difficult to deal with, we're lucky we aren't being surrounded by earth golems. Someone chuckled as he nervously observed the lizardmen that had retreated after Selena killed one of them and injured a few. Everyone silently agreed with him. While lizard men had high agility and thinking abilities, their thinking ability was what was saving them right now. Maybe it was due to fear or because they were thinking of a strategy, but the lizardmen didn't immediately rush toward them and were instead just watching from afar. Had it been earth golems, the group would currently be fighting a battle for their lives. They didn't dare to imagine what would happen if hundreds of common rank beasts charged at them at once. Escaping would be their only option, but even that would be difficult for people who didn't possess movement spells. Someone like Selena could actually escape if she used lightning charge to increase her speed, but Simon would have to rely on his speed as a core mage, which would not be enough to escape these lizard men who possessed incredible accuracy. "I'm going to release a signal so that the leader and the others will know our location," Selena said to Simon. "Okay, we'll keep watch," Simon replied. Next, Selena jumped down from the boulder and landed on the edge of the pit. The signal that they were talking about was her releasing a large amount of lightning energy. As long as it was strong enough, Mia would definitely be able to sense it from anywhere in the Golem Valley. Not just Mia, anyone above the core mage rank would be able to sense it. This also applied to magic beasts that were stronger than core mages. It was a risky move, but it was their only option at this point. As for how she was going to do that, it was simple. She just needed to gather the energy of the lightning element for a long time without casting any spell. With this thought in mind, 10 purple stars appeared around Selena before forming into 2 star patterns as the oppressive energy of the lightning element began to gather. Meanwhile, the situation outside had taken a turn after Selena left her position. The lizardmen started to move. Chapter 85, keeping the lizardmen away after Selena killed one of their kin and injured a few. The lizardmen assumed that she was the strongest and the leader of the group. Seeing her jump off the boulder, they thought that she had abandoned her people to escape. With the departure of the scary lightning human, the lizardmen started their advance. Around 100 of them slowly approached the boulders, their spikes ready to be thrown at any moment. The expressions on the faces of the explorers became tense when they saw this, and without hesitation, they summoned their stars and started to cast spells. Green vines burst out from the ground and rushed toward the lizardmen like snakes. Huge fireballs and tongues of flames shot through the air, painting the ground red. Fast water blades sliced through the air, their blue radiances intensifying under the touch of sunlight. Wind blades were like sharp gales that shuttled through space. For a moment, different spells formed a spectacular circle around the group on top of the boulders before swooping down at the lizardmen. Boom! Bang! Crash! Loud sounds rang through the space as the ground trembled, explosions rang out in succession, and loud sounds of collisions were deafening as the spells rained down and covered a large area in a cloud of dust and smoke. Apart from the lizardmen, who were standing at a distance, the ones within a 20-meter radius were shrouded in a fog of smoke and dust, their fate unknown. Whoosh! Suddenly, piercing sounds tore through the air as countless spikes emerged from the smoky fog and shot toward Simon and the others like missiles. The gust of wind brought by the flight of so many spikes blew away a large portion of the fog that was covering the place and allowed the explorers to see the condition of the nearby lizardmen. Everyone blocked. Simon shouted after seeing the fast-approaching spikes. He immediately summoned the 5 stars and formed a single golden star pattern in less than a second. Light beams. Simon's voice rang out as several orbs of golden light that looked like trapped sun appeared in the air around him before flying out in a circular formation to intercept the spikes. The others didn't just watch and let Simon protect them, they took action, too. Those who possessed the earth element cast earth control and formed tall walls to defend against a portion of the incoming spikes. Others cast wind blades, flare, and water blades to destroy some, while those who didn't possess elements that would be useful at this moment took out defensive magic items. Thin energy walls that were a few meters tall could be seen in front of some people. All just in time for the rain of spikes to reach them. Boom! 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 Clank! 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 Sounds of the spikes hitting the thin energy barriers of the mages were easily drowned by the constant explosions caused by the spells and spikes clashing in mid-air. The scene was akin to fireworks raging in the sky. The shock waves from the explosions blew against their faces, but they stood their ground and didn't budge. As for the few spikes that managed to pass through the zones of explosions and bypass the magic items of the mages, they were easily dodged and crashed into the boulders. A few seconds passed as Simon and the others defended against the shower of spikes. After learning almost 10 long seconds that seemed like a lifetime, the explosions finally stopped as the rain of spikes ceased. Simon and the others didn't let down their guards, they looked down at the now almost cleared fog and could see the situation on the ground. Freeodnovel.com. Their eyes widened at the scene below. The ground was littered with cracks and holes as pieces of rocks scattered everywhere. This was the after effect of the rain of spells that they had cast earlier. But what was most shocking was that not a single dead lizardman could be seen. All of them had managed to avoid their bombardment of spells from earlier. TCH, these swift bastards. Someone cursed after seeing this. Some of them were already exhausted from their previous hunting and had yet to get the chance to rest before finding themselves in this situation. Seeing that the lizardmen were unharmed didn't help their mood at all. It couldn't be helped, not only were their spells at the adept rank and would do little damage if they managed to land, but the speed of their spells wasn't fast enough, and this allowed the agile lizardmen to dodge. Thud. 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 Sounds of feet hitting the ground echoed through the air as the lizardmen suddenly started to approach the boulders. They formed groups of 50 to 60 and approached from all directions as if they were being led by a commander. Seeing this, Simon's eyes flashed, and he shouted for his teammates not to allow the lizardmen to get close. He took action first after shouting the warning as two golden star patterns formed above him. Light ray. Hooum. The dazzling golden cannon shot down at a group of lizardmen at a fast speed. Seeing this, the group of lizardmen made clamoring noises before hastily scattering. Bang! The light ray crashed into the center of the group and a hole immediately formed on the ground. 3 lizardmen had died instantly as their bodies were pierced through, but the others had managed to flee and mix with other groups. At the same time, countless spikes shot into the air like raindrops and flew toward the group, forcing the explorers to defend themselves with everything they had. Simon clicked his tongue in annoyance as he cast several light beams to intercept spikes from below. These lizardmen were not giving them the chance to attack and were slowly approaching the group while they defended against their spikes. They couldn't allow the lizardmen to reach them as the situation would be out of control by then. This was why Simon had focused on destroying as many spikes as he could while attacking the lizardmen, although they would always dodge the light beams because of their slow flight speed. He left the rest of the group to defend themselves. At this moment, a fierce aura suddenly exploded from behind them. Rumble. The sky directly above their heads turned dark as purple lightning flashed across the surface of the clouds. Seeing the change in the sky, the advancing lizardmen came to a stop, their large eyes rolling at the sky with confusion. This short pause on the side of the lizardmen gave the group a chance to catch their breath. All of them turned their heads to look at the source of the aura. There, at the edge of the pit, Selena's clothes and hair fluttered wildly as an invisible wind blew around her. The purple star patterns above her head released a terrifying pressure and lightning flickered around her body. Moments later. Crackle. Bam. A vicious bolt of lightning struck down from the darkened sky like an enraged dragon, enveloping the entire area in the oppressive aura of the lightning element. The sound of the lightning bolt was deafening as it shot down, but it didn't reach the ground before disappearing. The sky also returned to normal after the lightning bolt disappeared. As for Selena, the star patterns above her head slowly vanished and her eyes returned to normal as she glanced at the others. No one needed to say anything, all they had to do now was to wait for reinforcement. Chapter 86, Last Resort. What Selena just did was similar to what Mia had done at the warehouse when they went to clear out those ants, gathering the energy of an element for a long time without casting any spells. This would lead to the manifestation of the element, and depending on the strength of the mage, the manifestation might become something more powerful than spells or just a showcase of the element. This was the case difference between Mia and Selena. Mia was at the expert rank, so when she manifested the energy of the water element, it had become a massive body of water that could very well flood a street. Had a weaker mage tried it, the outcome might have been a small puddle at best. In Selena's case, she was at the core rank and had only created a show of a lightning bolt with her manifestation. This was why it had vanished briefly after appearing and didn't touch the ground. If a stronger mage had tried it, the outcome might have been stronger than even the lightning bolt spell. In another part of the Golem Valley, Alex glanced at Mia and the rest of the group, who all had serious expressions on their faces. A while ago, Mia had gotten a call from Selena, and after the call ended, she had informed them that Selena's team was surrounded by a large number of lizardmen. Alex didn't know about the lizardmen, but the fact that there were hundreds of them alone was enough to cause panic for the group. Mia had told everyone to stop moving and wait for Selena's signal. Alex wondered how Mia was going to discover the location of Selena's group. He had spread out his senses as a master rank mage but was unable to detect the presence of other people. It was obvious that they had wandered very far away from the others. This made him curious as to how Mia was going to get Selena's signal. Or could it be a magic item? Alex thought. The possibility of such an item existing wasn't low. He glanced at his system interface while thinking about this. The interface showed that the system was still crafting. He wondered how much longer it was going to take before the crafting was completed. A hint of surprise appeared on Alex's face at this moment as he looked in a direction. He could feel the energy of the lightning element at a far distance. Although it had only appeared for a brief moment, Alex was sure that it was the lightning element. He noticed that Mia was staring in that direction as well. So this was the signal she talked about. Alex came to a realization. He saw that Phil and the others didn't react. They probably could not feel the lightning element because their strength was only at the adept rank. Alex's expression relaxed and he acted like he didn't notice anything either. "Let's go." Mia's voice sounded the next moment as she stood up and immediately dashed in the direction where they had felt the energy. Alex and the others stood up and chased after her. Alex could tell that Mia wasn't running at full speed because she didn't want to leave them behind, but she still made 100 meters gap between herself and the rest as she rushed forward. Alex wasn't planning on exposing himself, so he maintained the pace of the others and ran alongside them. They encountered some earth golems on the way and the earth golems charged at them. But with so many mages focused on running, how could the earth golems possibly keep up? In a flash, they left the earth golems behind just as they flashed past the golem valley like blurry shadows. In Alex's estimation, it would take them 10 minutes to reach where the lightning energy had appeared with their current speed. Meanwhile, back at the pit, Selena had joined the others at the top of the boulders. She and Simon were constantly casting adept rank spells to push back the lizardmen while the rest of the group focused on blocking the spikes for them. The thin energy walls of their defense magic items were already covered in cracks and would crumble in a while. Some of them were already panting with sweat dripping down their faces. They were rapidly depleting their mana, and their exhaustion continued to build up, but they didn't dare to stop mobilizing their mana. After noticing that the lizardmen would retreat or stop their advance for a while after noticing a new behavior in them, Selena started to make risky moves to buy themselves more time for help to arrive. She would sometimes cast a lightning charge on herself and turn into a streak of purple lightning that would rush down and cause havoc within the army of the lizardmen. With her speed, they could forget about touching her. She flashed around like a streak of lightning, killing a few and injuring some before quickly returning to the top of the boulder. While this was successful, the lizardmen had shown signs of slowly adapting to her charges. They would try to form an encirclement around her whenever she came down and focus all of their spikes on her. While this gave the adept mages of the group a chance to catch their breaths. This, in turn, placed Selena in a dangerous situation. Of course, Simon would continue to assist her from above, so their encirclement was never successful, but Selena had reduced her rate of charging down and changed locations as well. Shatter. A sound akin to shattering glasses, an energy wall of one of the group members that was already covered in cracks suddenly collapsed after getting struck by 5 spikes at the same time. One of the spikes made its way toward the man and stabbed into his thigh. Arg! A piercing scream rang from the man's throat as his eyes turned bloodshot. Seeing that one of them had fallen, another member immediately shifted to defend that spot, protecting the already wounded teammates in the process. Simon and Selena looked at this and clicked their tongue. With a quick glance, they could tell that the others were reaching their limit. They had to use their last resort else they would die. "Take him back to the pit, everyone get in the pit now," Simon shouted. As if expecting him to say this, Selena dashed toward the wounded person and grabbed his shirt before dragging him off the boulder and jumping into the pit. Freeobnov.com. Bang! Her feet landed heavily on the floor of the pit before dropping the wounded man. The latter had stopped screaming, but his face was a bit pale. The spike in his thigh had passed through, indirectly acting as a blockage that prevented him from bleeding to death. Selena dropped to the ground after. Her face looked calm, but she was also drenched in sweat as her hair stuck to her face. She was also tired. One after the other, the rest came back to the pit. All of them looked worn out and drenched in their own sweat, some even looked like they would pass out any moment from now. Simon was the last to return to the pit. After landing, he raised his hand as something appeared on his palm. It was a small round disc-like object. A look of helplessness appeared on Simon's face as he stared at the item. It was a grade 2 defense magical item and was meant to be used when they encountered a mutated rank beast. Who would have thought that he would be forced to use it because of some damned common rank magic beasts, but the situation didn't allow him to be stingy anymore. They would die if he didn't use it. Without hesitating, Simon fused a bit of his mana into the disc to activate it before throwing it up. Bling. Chapter 87, Unwanted Help. The small disc released a blinding light that was accompanied by a burst of powerful mana as it flew into the air. After it reached a certain height, it began to expand at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the blinding light on it also dimmed. The members of the group looked at the disc that had now grown to the same size as the top of the pit, blocking off the entrance. The disc was like a transparent barrier, which still allowed them to see outside, but a part of it was dark. Tendrils of energy spread from this spot to the rest of the disc. All of the members let out a breath of relief as they looked at the disc. They could feel the energy of a grade 2 mana core from it. A grade 2 barrier. With this disc blocking the opening above the pit, the group below could relax for the time being. The group didn't waste this time. Every one of them immediately sat in cross-legged positions and began to absorb mana into their soul sea while resting. Simon and Selena did the same. While the grade 2 barrier could protect them for the time being, it would not last forever, since those lizardmen wouldn't just let them be. And just as expected, after a few moments of silence, sounds of rapid footsteps were heard from outside. The group all looked up and saw countless lizardmen standing on top of the boulders that formed a ring around the pit. Their large eyes rolled in the direction of the disc as they stared at the group of humans underneath. After a while of observing, some of the lizardmen jumped down. Thud. Their scaly feet landed on the surface of the disc with solid sounds, ripples spreading across the surface of the barrier. The lizardmen who were standing on the transparent disc poked at it with their spikes, resulting in dull sounds. They lifted their bodies and made clamoring noises as if notifying the rest of the lizardmen of something. The next moment, several lizardmen jumped on the disc and they began to stab at the disc with their spikes, trying to break through and reach the humans below. The scene was very disturbing as the number of lizardmen slowly increased, and soon, the number of lizardmen standing around the pit and on the boulders had reached the original amount that they had seen outside. It was like looking at a colony of ants from under a glass frame, and these ants were as big or even bigger than you. The face of the members of the group contorted with discomfort. It was difficult to focus on recovering their depleted mana with such a thing happening above them. Simon's assurance that the disc would hold out for a long time only managed to calm them down slightly as they forced themselves to recover their mana. After all, there was nothing else that they could do. Selena looked up with tired eyes. No one knew if this was her eyes because of all the fighting earlier or if it was her usual self. We're completely trapped now if help doesn't come soon. Selena didn't finish her thought. She didn't dare to. She instead closed her eyes and focused on replenishing her mana, ignoring the clamoring of the lizardmen above their heads. Time had never been so slow for the members of the group. Every second felt like an hour for them as the effort of the lizardmen men trying to break the disc grew louder and more disturbing. Outside, not too far away from where the pit was located, a group of 24 people appeared. Leading them was a blonde-haired handsome man in golden armor that covered just his upper body to his neck. It was a grade 3 magical defense item. The others around him were also wearing pieces of protective items on their bodies, but theirs were only grade 1 magical items. Only another person within the group was wearing a grade 2 item. This was where the energy came from, the blonde-haired man voiced out as he stared at the space in front of him. The ground was covered in cracks and shallow pits, burnt pieces of rocks, and even blood stains along with a few corpses of lizardmen could be seen. Lizardmen? What happened here? The blondie mumbled with a puzzled look. This person was none other than Lucas, the leader of the Golden Tree group, and the people behind him were his men. Boss, look over there. Someone called out while pointing into the distance. Everyone, including Lucas, followed the direction of his finger and saw a ring of large boulders that were dozens of meters away. Around the boulders was a large number of lizardmen. They estimated that there were around 300 of them. Looks like they are gathering around something. Another person pointed out. Lucas looked at the hellish scene in front of him again before glancing at the lizardman in the distance. It didn't take long for him to connect the dots. Whoever had released that lightning energy must be responsible for the destruction that had happened here and had killed all of these lizardmen. Looking at the ring of boulders, Lucas concluded that they must be trapped there. Should we go help them? The person who wore a grade 2 item asked while staring at Lucas. He was the second expert mage in the group. Store the corpses of these dead lizardmen first, I'll go take a look, Lucas ordered, his eyes flashing with gold coins. What helped them? He was more interested in the lizardmen. After saying his orders, Lucas rushed toward the boulders. His speed was so fast that the others didn't see him clearly as he left a gust of wind behind. Frugnoel.com As an expert mage, Lucas's speed wasn't something that core mages could follow with their eyes. For the lizardmen, he was like a ghost and they didn't even notice him approaching. Lucas swiftly reached the lizardmen and landed beside one of them on a boulder. He then looked down. He was stunned to see a large grade 2 barrier blocking the entrance of a pit and numerous lizardmen striking the barrier with their spikes. A grade 2 barrier for such weak magic beasts? What a waste. Lucas snickered, but his expression quickly changed as he noticed a figure below the disc. It was the sleep-deprived Selena. Immediately after seeing Selena, Mia's face appeared in Lucas's mind. If he saved Mia's people, wouldn't she be indebted to him? A smirk formed on his lips after thinking of this. Back in the pit, everyone waited in heavy silence. The sounds of spikes kept coming from above and a sense of depression filled the pit. Right at this moment, a loud voice sounded through the air. Good job holding out for so long, the Golden Tree Group has come to help. The voice was loud and filled with self-praise. Everyone, including the lizardmen, looked up at the figure who was standing among the lizardmen fearlessly. Through the gaps between the legs of the lizardmen standing on the barrier, Selena could see the figure of Lucas in his grade 3 armor. A stunned look formed on her face. Why was it him? Chapter 88, Unwanted Help. Two large eyes rolled in Lucas's direction as the lizardmen on top of the boulder turned to face him. They didn't notice him until he spoke. The man had a sly smirk on his face. He remained fearless even after he was discovered. Clamor. Hundreds of lizardmen reacted and threw their spikes towards him the next second, but Lucas' smile grew wider. Boom. His body exploded with the pressure of an expert mage. The violent pressure was like a ruthless gale that knocked all the spikes away and sent all the lizardmen around him flying. An area of 10 meters around Lucas was instantly swept clean as all of the lizardmen in the area were knocked away. Some flew far into the distance while others crashed into the nearby boulders and died on the spot. Their bodies formed a small pile in a corner. The members of the Rising Wave group in the pit were stunned at the show that Lucas displayed, as expected of an expert rank mage. A bitter smile surfaced on their faces right after. They knew that Lucas disdained their group but coveted their leader. He was most likely saving them only because he wanted Mia to owe him a favor. Being saved by Lucas was no different from creating trouble for Mia. But in their current situation, they didn't have any other option and could only watch. In that moment when Lucas released the full pressure of his strength, he had killed around 20 lizardmen by slamming them into the nearby boulders while sending over 100 flying away. The remaining lizardmen all stopped what they were doing and turned their attention to him as they readied to attack him. In normal situations, they would have retreated and observed Lucas from a distance first, but the distance between them right now wasn't going to allow that. Since they couldn't retreat from him, the lizardmen decided to attack together. Swoosh! Hundreds of spikes flew at Lucas at great speed, but his figure had already vanished from that place. All of the spikes missed and rained on the boulder he was standing on previously, instantly creating holes and cracks in the huge rock. Whoosh! Lucas' figure appeared in another location with 5 bright red stars in front of his body, which quickly formed into a red star pattern. He was perfectly displaying the might of a mage at the expert mage rank as he flashed around the place. The common rank lizardmen couldn't follow his movements. Fireball, Lucas said with an easy grin on his face. Right after his voice fell, a ball of flame that was as big as the tires of a car and releasing blazing heat shot out from the red star pattern and fell on the lizardmen who were standing on the surface of the disc. Ba-boom! Immediately, the fireball touched the first lizardman, it spread out and engulfed the surrounding lizardmen in a wave of raging flames. A scorching heat enveloped the area as the lizardmen were swiftly burned to a crisp without having the opportunity to struggle too much. The heat was so high that the people below the barrier instantly began to sweat heavily, it was as if they were the ones before burnt. The heat was almost unbearable for those at the adept rank, and they gasped for air. They were forced to utilize the little amount of mana that they had gathered earlier to offset some of the heat. This bastard! Selena cursed in her heart as she glanced up. The scene above the disc was similar to the surface of a river being set on fire, and the 11 of them were watching from under the river. It gave a suffocating feeling. They knew that Lucas was only helping them for Mia's sake, but he wasn't even caring about their safety by creating a furnace right above their heads. Couldn't he have found another way to deal with the lizardmen without affecting them? Hold on a bit longer, I'll withdraw the disc after this so we can go outside. Simon comforted the members of the group. He was using his mana to protect himself and the wounded man beside him. Although he was sweating profusely, he was able to hold out since he was at the core rank. Crack! At this moment, a cracking sound sounded in the pit. Everyone froze before slowly looking at a spot in the barrier. A faint crack had appeared and was slowly spreading. The faces of everyone paled in fright as a look of horror appeared in their eyes. They all watched as the crack slowly spread before a small section of the barrier suddenly broke off and the searing heat rushed into the pit. Arg! Painful screams rang out from the weaker members of the group as they felt like they were being roasted alive. Tongues of flames invaded the pit through the opening. Selena immediately reacted. Gritting her teeth, she dashed toward the opening and slapped out as something appeared in her hand. Whoosh! Something flew toward the opening out of Selena's palm before expanding into a 1-meter thin barrier. It was a grade 1 defense item. The barrier hissed as it absorbed the head from the opening, and faint cracks instantly began to appear on it. But Selena wasn't done yet. Clenching her jaw, she raised both of her palms and channeled her mana toward the barrier as it blocked the opening on the disc, reducing the heat in the pit significantly. The screaming members of the group instantly stopped screaming after the heat reduced. They gasped heavily as sweat poured out from their bodies like rain. All of them looked at Selena, who was using her mana to sustain the grade 1 barrier and prevent it from shattering instantly. A look of surprise appeared on their faces. Selena, you... One of the women choked, her voice on the verge of tears as she stared at Selena. Due to using her mana to sustain the grade 1 mana and plug the opening, she had stopped protecting herself with mana and was tanking the heat with her body. Her skin was now bright red but she kept a serious face while secretly biting her teeth. Simon looked at the scene with a helpless and frustrated look. He glanced at the scene outside the pit, and a hateful glint flashed across his eyes. Meanwhile, above the pit, after seeing how Lucas had burned a lot of their kinsmen to death, the remaining lizardmen, who still numbered up to 200, didn't plan on staying any longer. They immediately turned around and ran away, jumping over the boulders like scared rabbits. But they were met with an onslaught of spells from the members of Lucas' group outside. The others had finished storing the corpse of the lizardmen as per Lucas's request, so they came over when they felt Lucas released his aura and had even cast a spell. The next thing they saw were frightened lizardmen running out from the ring of boulders. The group didn't think twice and immediately rained spells on the lizardmen. After the lizardmen ran, Lucas glanced at the members of the Rising Wave group in the pit. He could see them struggling from his flame, but he didn't plan to help. He believed he had already done enough by driving the lizardmen away. Remember to inform your leader that I saved you all, put a good word to her on my behalf. Lucas smiled at the group before jumping away. Chapter 89, Beasts of the Golem Valley. Remember to inform your leader that I saved you all, put a good word to her on my behalf. Lucas smiled at the group before jumping away. That bastard, Someone hissed. He wants us to be grateful because he chased away the lizardman? I would rather face the lizardman than this heat. No wonder the leader hates him, he's a scumbag. The members of the Rising Wave group cursed as they watched Lucas leave. Lucas came out and stood on one of the boulders. Seeing his group members killing the lizardman, he nodded with satisfaction. Their gains here could very much double their gains during the past hours. Not long after, more people began to appear. They were from the other two groups and had come after sensing Selena's lightning energy as well. Apparently, these three groups had been the closest to them, so they were the first ones to arrive. When they saw lots of lizardmen running around and the members of the Golden Tree group hunting them, the people of the two groups immediately joined in an attempt to get some more profits. Stop, these lizardmen belong to the Golden Tree group, others are not allowed to kill them. If you have already killed any, please return them. Lucas's voice rang through the air when he saw this. His words sounded reasonable and righteous, but his threatening tone was as clear as day. The other two groups were speechless, even Selena and the members of the Rising Wave group who were suffering in the pit were also speechless. Who would go around laying claims on magic beasts that were in the wild? Some of the members, however, were stubborn and still wanted to store some beast corpses that were close to them, but were immediately scolded by the expert mage of their group. Lucas had claimed to know Mr. Chen. It would be unwise to get on his bad side since they might need him to get in contact with Mr. Chen. It was better to just allow him to take these lizardmen. Lucas stood tall on the boulder with a sharp glint in his eyes. He nodded in approval when he saw the others' behavior. Frib novel calm. Sometime later, the flames on top of the transparent disc finally died out, and Simon retrieved it. The disc went back to its original size before dropping on Simon's palm. He calmly stored it in his storage ring. Selena immediately dropped to the ground after the disc was retreated. Her entire body had turned a shade darker, and one would feel like they had touched a hot object when they touched her skin. Selena. The members of the group immediately rushed towards her with worried expressions. I'm all right. God, you all are so noisy. Selena's tired voice rang out as she slowly pushed herself to a sitting position. The members of the group gathered around her but didn't touch her or make any more sounds. Simon glanced at her with a relieved look on his face before looking at the figure standing on the boulder. His gaze instantly turned murderous. With the lizardmen gone, the group didn't immediately climb out from the pit. They were finally able to relax and catch their breaths after a long period of suffering. Their nervous system had almost reached a breaking point. They spent minutes in the pit, recovering their energy. After they were in a good enough state, they finally climbed out of the pit. Lucas glanced at the group as they jumped on the boulder one after the other. One of the members was carrying their wounded teammate. You guys finally came back. You're lucky I came on time, you all might have been in serious danger. I don't want to imagine how heartbroken Mia would be if something happened to you all. Lucas expressed his worries, but a cunning grin could be seen on his face. The members of the Rising Wave group felt disgust toward this person and they cursed at him in their hearts. They just didn't dare to say it to his face. After all, he was an expert mage. Selena glanced at Lucas with narrowed eyes, her face colder than ancient ice. Anyone could instantly tell that she didn't have a favorable impression of him. Simon turned to Lucas and nodded slightly. Thank you, we'll remember your kindness, he said tonelessly. Although they didn't like Lucas, they still had to show courtesy in front of him. Lucas nodded with a pleased expression on his face. It's nothing, all I did was cast a few spells. His words made the members of the group almost throw up, but they forcefully held down their stomachs. They turned their attention to the scene below. The members of the Golden Tree group had almost finished off the rest of the lizardmen and only a few of them were still running around. Let's wait here, the leader should arrive soon. We'll return to Balan City soon, Simon said while staring at the man who still had a spike stuck in his lap. His face was now as white as a ghost, but he was still awake. They needed to return quickly so that he could get treated. but Simon's voice had barely fallen when the ground suddenly trembled as if an earthquake was happening, followed by a series of earth-shattering roars. Members of the Rising Wave group. A look of disbelief appeared on their faces as they looked in the direction of the disturbance. There, in the distance, a horde of earth golems were approaching, and behind them was an even larger earth that was 10 meters huge. It was enormous, and the other earth golems looked like little children in front of it. The eyes of Simon and the others almost popped out of their sockets. What the hell? Was this valley being serious right now? They had just survived the encirclement of some lizardmen not long ago, but now a horde of earth golems were coming? Was this place really not going to give them a way out? Not just the members of the Rising Wave group, but every human being in the area stared at the gigantic golem. Without a doubt, that giant was at the mutated beast rank. So many. Someone exclaimed with a look of terror on their face. Selena glanced at her teammates. Except for Simon, the others had dreadful expressions. "I'll be going ahead first, see you guys later." Unlike them, Lucas still had a relaxed look on his face. He waved at the group before disappearing into a blur. He arrived in front of his group members the next moment. As expected, the beasts in the Golem Valley are more active at night. I just didn't expect them to come out so soon. This isn't a bad thing, though. Lucas turned his head and gazed in the direction of the incoming golems before looking at the other two explorer groups. Since the mutated rank Earth Golem has appeared, all expert mages will join me to kill it while the others deal with the smaller ones. The Golden Tree group will take ownership of the remains and mana core after we kill it. In return, my group will owe all of you a favor. Lucas voiced out. Chapter 90, Golem Horde. The leaders of the other two groups, who were also at the expert mage rank, narrowed their eyes after listening to what Lucas said. They were familiar with his cunning and dishonest behavior, but what he said didn't really seem like a bad deal. The remains of an earth golem at the mutated rank might fetch a higher price than even the corpse of some transformed rank beast, but the profit would not still be enough for all of them to share. No matter how they looked at it, having Lucas owe them a favor was more valuable than splitting the money that they would gain from the remains of the golem. Not only was the Golden Tree group a popular group with a larger influence, but there was the highly regarded Mr. Chen. Lucas definitely wasn't trying to cheat them. Okay, we agree. But Miss Mia of the Rising Wave group isn't present yet. The two expert mages agreed before pointing out that Mia had yet to return with the rest of her group members. Only half of the members of the Rising Wave group were present, and they didn't look to be in good shape for battle. Does it matter? There are 4 of us, surely we can take down a mutated rank Earth Golem by ourselves. Lucas chuckled. The others couldn't help but agree. Lucas had a second expert mage on his team, so they were 4 in total. Although the mutated rank Earth Golem would be difficult to deal with when compared to the majority of magic beasts at the same rank, the 4 of them could definitely manage. Good, it's decided, we'll take action immediately, follow my lead. Lucas smirked as he turned and walked casually toward the approaching horde. The ground continued to tremble under the weight of the earth golems, and they caused a dust storm behind them. A fierce glint could be seen in Lucas's eyes as he stared at the gigantic rocky figure at the back of the horde. Red stars appeared around him one after the other, quickly reaching 25 stars. Immediately, the temperature around him increased and caused the adept mages to shift back while grimacing. The area around Lucas was bathed in a red glow as the 25 red stars formed into 5 bright star patterns before combining into a beautiful red constellation. Fiery Fist. Lucas's voice rang out after the star constellation formed. A low boom rang out as if a volcano had erupted. The heat around Lucas instantly doubled as visible flames burned in the air around him. A blazing red punch that was made entirely of flames burst out from the star constellation. The punch was the size of a truck and released shocking heat. The ground around Lucas instantly started to release smoke, and the adept and core mages were forced to retreat further back due to the high temperature. Only the 3 expert mages could stay and endure the heat. After the huge fiery fist formed around Lucas, he stepped toward the incoming horde with his gaze fixed on the gigantic golem at the back, the fiery fist floating beside him like a huge pet. Freeob novel C Sigma. The fiery fist was a control type spell of the fire element. It was like a higher version of fireball, but unlike fireball that could only be launched, the fiery fist could be controlled to attack enemies over a wide area. When the distance between him and the horde of earth golems became less than 50 meters, Lucas finally threw out a punch. Swoosh! The large fiery fist beside him instantly flew out with his movements and soared above the horde of earth golems as it flew toward the enormous golem. Roar! The golem roared when it saw the huge fiery fist flying toward it and immediately threw out a punch of its own. Large rocks rose from the ground and formed an even larger rock that clashed with the fiery fist. Its movements were fast despite its size. Boom! The rock and fiery fist exploded in the air after clashing. A cloud of black smoke and flames tainted the air in front of the golem as large pieces of rock rained down, crashing into the horde of golems and destroying a few. But these destroyed golems soon recovered to their peak form and resumed their charge. As for the mutated rank golem, it was unharmed. An excited smile formed on Lucas's face when he saw that his attack was blocked easily. As expected, a beast of such caliber wouldn't be taken down so easily. Let's go, he voiced out before dashing forward. The 3 expert mages behind him reacted after hearing his words and dashed forward as well. The 4 of them turned into 4 blurry shadows that weaved through the horde of golems. The remaining members of the 3 groups also moved into action. They were in charge of dealing with the smaller earth golems while their strongest group members dealt with the enormous golem. In the following moments, spells of different elements covered the sky and the ground trembled from the weight of the golems. Selena, Simon, and the rest of the team watched from a distance. Their expressions were gloomy as they observed the fight. The 4 expert mages moved freely within the horde of golems and launched powerful spells at the gigantic rocky figure. Some of their attacks were blocked by the golem, while some landed on its body. A part of the golem's body would immediately explode into rock pieces after getting hit by a spell, but its speed of fixing its body was unbelievably fast. This allowed it to recover from any damage almost instantly and continue to fight. In return, the golem punched around and stomped the ground with its rocky limbs. It also summoned pieces of rocks to attack, launching them at the 4 as if they were bullets. Their fight was earth-shattering and affected the surrounding golems. A good number of earth golems had been killed during their clash, and the shock waves from their attacks were enough to send the weaker earth golems flying. While the 4 mages battled with the golem, the rest mages rained spells on the horde of golems. Remains of golems were constantly flying through the air as the mages bombarded them. The impact of the battle was earth-shattering, and the members of the Rising Wave group could not help but shudder. Thankfully, the golems were focused on the members of the 3 groups and didn't bother with them for the time being. They weren't in the condition to fight and wouldn't be able to protect themselves if some of the golems came toward them. At this moment, a figure appeared in the distance. It was Mia. She stood in between 2 pillar-like rocks and gazed at the battle in the distance, a rare anxious look on her face. She had felt the pressure of the battle from several kilometers away and was worried about her group members. Now staring at the intense clash between the members of the other 3 groups and the horde of golems, she wasn't able to spot any of her people. This only caused her worry to grow. She was about to head toward the battle area to ask questions when she noticed some movements through the corner of her eyes. Her gaze subconsciously turned toward the direction of the ring of boulders and a wave of relief washed over her body the next moment. Thank goodness, they are fine. Chapter 91, Regrouping. Alex maintained pace with Phil and the rest as they chased after Mia's back. They crossed several kilometers with each passing minute. After almost 7 minutes of running, Alex's senses could finally detect the aura of a battle raging hundreds of kilometers away. It couldn't really be considered a battle since Alex only felt a single powerful aura and it belonged to an expert rank mage. After they crossed a few more kilometers, Mia finally sensed this aura, and her speed immediately increased, creating more distance between herself and the rest. For the leader to be this worried, Selina and the others must be in danger. Joan sighed. She was also worried about Simon and the others but felt more helpless because Mia was running at a slow speed because of them. She can go ahead first, we'll be right behind. Another person voiced out. Others agreed with these words. They had learned about the situation of Selina's team from Mia. They must be having a difficult time after fighting for so long. Leader, you can go ahead, we'll be right behind you, Phil called out to Mia in a loud voice. They knew that this wasn't their leader's highest speed, she could go even faster. In response to Phil's words, Mia didn't react and maintained a gap of 150 meters as she ran in front. The others could only sigh helplessly and struggle to keep up. After another 2 minutes of running, Alex detected the presence of more auras many kilometers away. Now that's a battle, he thought to himself. He could detect the presence of 4 expert mages and all of them were actively using mana, as well as the presence of a mutated rank beast and countless common rank beasts. He wasn't the only one who had sensed this since the distance between them and where the fight was going on wasn't too far anymore. Mia had sensed it too. Finally unable to hold herself back, she suddenly accelerated and disappeared from their line of sight as she rushed into the distance. The rest of the group, except Alex, were stunned by the sudden change in her, but they didn't complain and continued to run along Mia's trail. After a whole minute of running, they were now able to feel the aura of the battle in front and they could not help but be shocked. It had to be said that the sensing range of an adept mage was really little. The eyes of everyone around Alex were wide open after sensing the intensity of the battle in front. Hundreds of auras at the common rank and a powerful mutated rank aura. Of course, there were also auras of the mages who were currently facing them. It was very chaotic. At this moment, they finally caught sight of Mia's figure. The woman was standing near 2 rock pillars and was staring in a different direction from the battle. From such a distance, they could feel the tremor of the ground that was caused by the battle as well as hear the roars and explosions of spells. They could instantly tell that Mia wasn't looking in the direction of the battle. Mia seemed to notice them and turned around to face them as they approached. Her expression was now calm, she didn't look anxious anymore. This made Phil and the others confused. What was going on? Weren't Selina's team in trouble? Holding in their curiosity, they kept running until they finally reached Mia's position. What's the situation? Where are the others? Aren't they fighting? Let's go help them. The newly arrived people chorused after reaching Mia's position. They instinctively glanced in the direction where the battle was taking place. Their faces were painted with astonishment at the scene in the distance. The gigantic golem was even more eye-catching and dreadful. No need to be in a rush, they are all right. Mia's voice sounded in their ears and pulled them back to reality. They all immediately looked in the direction that she was staring at. There, they saw Selina and the others resting on top of huge boulders. Their complexions clearly told how much they had struggled, especially Selina whose skin had yet to fully recover. From this distance, she seemed to have a different skin color from the rest. After confirming that they were safe, it was as if a huge pressure had been lifted off the chests of Phil and the rest and some of them immediately dropped to the ground as they gasped. Without even realizing it, many of them were already dead tired and drenched in sweat after running for so long at full speed. They just hadn't noticed because the thought of their friends being in danger had filled their minds. Alex observed the battle in the distance with a conflicted expression. So many beasts, so many EXP. But he couldn't do anything at the moment. Alex promised to come at a later date by himself. After the group rested for just a bit, they went to meet up with Selina and the rest. The others also noticed them after they got closer and someone immediately shouted out, "The leader is here." A hint of joy could be felt from her words after seeing Mia and the others. The rest reacted the same way after seeing Mia and the others. Simon flashed a tired smile as he remained seated. Mia nodded at him before gazing at the rest, her eyes stopping at the man who had a spike in his leg. Her brows knitted, the face of the man was now very pale and he could barely open his eyes. Without saying anything, Mia walked toward him, crouched in front of him. She grabbed an end of the spike and with one sharp movement, pulled it out. Shank. The spike came out with a flesh-ripping sound, causing the man to tremble and let out muffled sounds. Since the spike was no longer acting like a blockage for the wound, the blood immediately started to rush out without interference. Mia's expression didn't change as she brought out her palm, a small container appearing on her palm. The others gasped when they saw the container. This made Alex raise an eyebrow as he couldn't recognize what the container was. He had to ask Joan in a whisper. "That's a healing gel. It's very rare in Balan City, and not many people can get one," Joan explained. Alex's eyes revealed a look of realization. Under their gazes, Mia opened the container and a green substance could be seen inside. A rich, flowery scent filled the air after the container was opened. Alex could feel the strong vitality coming from the healing gel. They watched as Mia scooped a small portion of the green gel with her fingers before applying it to the wound. The green gel was absorbed into the body of the man after it made contact with the wound, and the bleeding immediately stopped. The skin started to close up at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even Alex was amazed by the effect of the healing gel. It was just like the potions and healing pills that he had read about in his past life. He was considering getting some in the future. Meanwhile, the battle in the distance was still ongoing. After helping to close the wound, the condition of the man began to recover slowly and he stopped trembling. Mia kept the healing gel back in her storage ring before glancing at the battle with an expressionless face. "All of you, wait here." Chapter 92, easily repaying a favor. Leaving Alex and the others to wait atop the boulder, Mia went to assist in the battle. She quickly arrived behind the group of explorers facing the horde of golems. Her eyes lit up with a blue glow as blue stars appeared above her head before forming two star patterns in the blink of an eye. "Siren shots!" Mia's cold voice rang out, alerting the mages in front of her. All of them turned back to look at her, a surprised look plastered on their faces. At the same time, the energy of the water element erupted from the star patterns as they grew bigger and faced the horde of golems. The next moment, countless water drops that were in the shape of bullets shot out from the star patterns like rain and crashed into the horde of golems. The power of these siren shots was devastating as a single one directly shattered the hard bodies of the golems. For a moment, roars resounded through the air as the siren shots wiped out tens of earth golems and filled the ground with holes. This made the explorers cheer in excitement. They started to attack the rest of the horde with newfound confidence. After helping to eliminate a portion of the horde, Mia didn't pay any more attention to the fight here and moved to the back of the horde where Lucas and the other expert mages were battling the mutated rank golem. The space of 200 meters around them had been turned into ruin as not a single low-rank earth golem could be seen. The ground was filled with cracks and potholes that were a result of spells and strikes from the golem. Mia's speed was very fast as she flashed across the horde of golems like a phantom and arrived at the back in a few seconds. Bang! Just when she arrived, she met the scene of one of the expert mages casting an enormous ice spike that crashed into the head of the golem. The sound of collision was earth-shattering and forced the golem to stagger backwards as the ice shattered all over its head. Unfortunately, Ice Spike was only a core rank spell and wasn't able to damage the head of the golem, which was known to be one of the two strongest parts of its body. Light Ray. Another person who was covered in light armor formed two golden star patterns and shot a blinding light cannon at the knees of the golem. Hooum! The light ray shuttled through the air and crashed into the rocks on the golem's knees, shattering them and sending the rock particles flying in the air. Bam! The impact forced the golem down to its knees. At the same time, a large boulder flew from the side and crashed into the light mage. Bang! The light mage was sent flying into the distance like a broken doll after the boulder crashed into him. Thankfully, the light armor on his body protected him. The others didn't give the golem a chance to stand up after it was forced to its knees. They rained spells on it while it was still down. Air Blast. Fiery Fist. Two explosions rang out as the air beside the golem's head exploded and knocked it to the side, while a truck-sized fire punch crashed into the back of the golem, causing a strong shockwave and pieces of rock scattered into the air. Quickly, attack it before it gets up. Aim all your spells at its head and chest. Lucas shouted after seeing the golem crash into the ground. Swoosh. All four expert mages appeared on all four sides of the golem and their stars appeared around them. Yellow stars of the wind element. Red stars of the fire element. Pale blue stars of the ice element. And gold stars of the light element. All four expert mages summoned just enough stars to cast the strongest attack spell of their various elements. But just before they could successfully connect the stars, a violent pressure erupted from the golem on the ground as it let out an earth-shaking roar. The next moment, the ground around it exploded as large chunks of earth were sent flying out chaotically and flew toward the nearby mages. All four of them were forced to stop the forming of their star patterns as they hastily dodged the flying rocks. At the same time, the golem rose from the ground and stood at its previous height. Its broken body had recovered again. The four mages were still busy dodging the flying rocks when a huge shadow suddenly fell over Lucas. His body stiffened as he looked up. The large fist of the golem was coming down on him at a fast speed. He wouldn't be able to dodge. It looked like the golem held a personal grudge against Lucas as it had attacked him first despite not being the closest to it. Fuck. Lucas cursed in his heart as he braced himself for impact. But just when he thought that the gigantic fist was going to crash on him, a cold yet pleasant voice rang in his ears. Hand of the Sea. Immediately after the voice sounded, Lucas saw a water tentacle suddenly appear out of nowhere and wrapped around the fist of the golem. The water tentacle was like a snake as it tightly wrapped around the golem's hand and locked it in place, preventing it from falling on Lucas. Lucas was shocked. He traced the body of the water tentacle with his eyes until his eyes fell on Mia's figure. A large blue star constellation stood majestically behind Mia, and the other end of the water tentacle that was currently holding the golem stretched into it. A look of pleasant surprise formed on his face the next moment as he dashed from under the range of the golem's fist and arrived beside Mia. "Mia's, you saved me!" he exclaimed in a fawning tone, his eyes shining with loving light. Mia simply glanced at him through the corner of her eye before saying expressionlessly, "It's settled, that's for saving my people." After saying this, she returned her gaze to the golem in the distance. After discovering the water tentacle that was wrapping around its arm, the golem punched down with its other hand. Bam! Its fist crashed into its other hand ruthlessly, destroying the spells and grazing off a large chunk of rock from its arm. After setting itself free, the golem turned to look in the direction that the water tentacle had come from, its hollow eyes locked on Mia's figure as the star constellation slowly disappeared from behind her. Meanwhile, Lucas was still staring at Mia's side profile with a startled expression. Her words repeatedly rang in his ears. So she meant that she had repaid the favor of him helping Selena and the others by saving him from the attack of the golem. No, 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 no. He didn't want to use the favor like this. He was supposed to use it to ask Mia to go on a date with him. Frug no elko, why did she stop the golem's punch? He would have happily taken the hit. After all, he still had a grade 3 armor on his body and wasn't really in danger. Lucas was vexed. His perfect plan had gone to waste and this damned golem was the cause of it. At the thought of this, Lucas's gaze turned ruthless as he stared at the golem. "Damn rock, I'm going to shatter you." Chapter 93, Strategy of the Water. Which Mia looked at Lucas from the corner of her eye. She could see his twisted expression as he glared at the golem, but she didn't care. As for how she knew that Lucas was the one who had saved Selena and her team, it was very easy after she saw the group's condition and didn't need anyone to tell her first. Of everyone she knew, Lucas was the only one powerful enough and had the fire element that could put Selena and the others in such a state even though it wasn't a direct attack. While Selena was the only one with noticeable change, as her skin had been scorched, the others weren't completely clean either, as a few of them had signs of having suffered from intense heat. After knowing that Lucas was the culprit, it wasn't difficult to tell what his aim for doing it was. Saving the group was only for his plan, which was why he didn't particularly care about their safety and had ended up affecting them with his flames. And with Lucas's character and unhidden desire toward her, Mia already knew why he had bothered to help Selena's team. She wasn't going to give him that much. Which was why she had prevented the punch of the golem from landing. She had repaid the favor just like that. Roar. The roar of the golem rang in everyone's ears, drawing their attention back to the fight. The other three expert mages who had managed to escape the fury of flying rocks appeared beside Lucas and Mia. They had also noticed Mia's presence after seeing her save Lucas from that punch. They were relieved that she had arrived. With an additional person and someone like the water witch at that, killing this golem was going to be an easy task. Here's what we'll do, Mia stated. Unlike the other three who listened to Lucas during the fight and waited for his arrangements, Mia had a different fighting style of her own and immediately disclosed the plan she had for defeating the golem. Since the golem was already charging toward them, they didn't have enough time to discuss the plan, so Mia had said that she would give orders as they fought. Although Lucas was dissatisfied and didn't want others giving him orders, he agreed to this idea since it was Mia who would be giving the orders. For now, her orders were for Lucas and two others to hold back the golem for a few seconds while she and the last person prepared to restrict its movements. Everyone immediately agreed before spreading out. Lucas and two expert mages rushed toward the golem to engage it while Mia remained at the back with the last mage who had the ice element. Air blast. Bam. The wind in front of the golem's face exploded, sending some rock pieces flying and forcing it to come to a halt as it staggered backwards, but the hit wasn't fatal as it immediately attacked the wind mage. Swoosh. Countless stones flew out like snakes swimming in the air and attacked the wind mage, forcing the latter to run around and dodge. Light ray. A golden cannon shot flew from the side and pierced through the arm of the golem, piercing a large hole through it, but tiny rocks rose from the ground the next moment and filled the hole. A kick swept toward the light mage. Fire claw. A large fire claw formed above Lucas's head before soaring into the sky and falling on the golem. Boom. A huge cluster of rocks formed above the golem before colliding with the fire claw while sharp stones shot toward Lucas. While the three of them crashed with golem, Mia was busy gathering the energy of the water element. Manifestation. A large bubble of water that was twice the size of a truck had already formed above her star constellation and was still growing. The ice mage who was standing beside her stared at the water bubble with a stupefied look on his face. As expected of the water witch, he thought. After a while, the water bubble had reached a massive size and was as big as a house. Mia's eyes showed a cold glint as she called out at this moment. All of you, come back now. Her voice was loud and was clearly heard by Lucas and the other two. The three of them instantly stopped whatever they were doing and flashed toward Mia's side. After confirming that they had retreated, Mia controlled the large bubble of water and threw it at the golem. The eyes of Lucas and the other two almost popped out of their sockets when they saw the massive water bubble. Was that even a spell? Cast freezing wave, now. Immediately after throwing the water bubble at the golem, Mia turned to the ice mage and told him to cast freezing wave. The other party didn't hesitate and instantly summoned his stars. Freezing wave was an adept rank spell. For expert mages, they could cast it almost instantly since their speed for forming a single star pattern had almost reached an instantaneous level. Freezing wave. With the star pattern in front of him, the ice mage called the name of the spell. A burst of cold air instantly gushed out of the star pattern as frost began to form in the air. At the same time, the water bubble landed in front of the golem and exploded into a powerful wave that spread in all directions and even crashed into the golem. It covered up to its knees and caused it to stagger backwards. But before the wave could reach Mia and the others, the effect of the freezing wave instantly froze this corner of the wave. It didn't stop there as the ice continued to spread at lightning speed and completely froze the entire area that was covered by the wave. Suddenly, the space of over 100 meters in front of them had turned into a frozen land with the golem stuck in the middle. The ice had frozen from its foot up to its knees. Lucas and the others stared at the scene with a stunned expression. Even the mages who were fighting in the distance and Alex's group had noticed this too. They were all shocked by the frozen space. The ice was meters thick, and the golem wouldn't be able to break away easily. "Let's go." Mia's voice sounded, waving the others from their dazed state. She jumped on the ice before approaching the golem that was already trying to break free from the ice. Lucas and the others came back to their senses and jumped on the ice as well. Bang! 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 The golem threw punch after punch at the ice, tearing away large chunks of it as it tried to free its legs. This caused the ice to tremble violently. Mia and the others had to stabilize themselves as they approached it. If left alone, it was only a matter of time before it broke free. They had to act fast while it was still trapped. "We'll restrict its arms. The three of you attack its head with your strongest spells. Make sure to kill it while it's unable to move," Mia voiced out. Chapter 94, Beasts Everywhere. The five of them split up as they ran. Mia and the ice mage went to the side while Lucas and the remaining two mages ran straight toward the golem. Reaching their positions, Mia and the ice mage both cast their spells in quick succession. Ice Shackles. Hand of the Sea. From the side of the mage, a thick ice chain burst out from the ground and shot toward the left arm of the golem before wrapping around it and firmly locking it in place. The golem was about to use its other hand to destroy the ice shackle when a water tentacle appeared from its right and wrapped around its right arm like a snake. Both of its arms had been locked and it was now completely defenseless. Well, except for its body's defense. The golem roared and shook its arms as it tried to break free, but it was futile as the ice shackle and water tentacle were surprisingly resilient. With nothing to disturb them anymore, Lucas and the other two immediately cast their spells and aimed at the golem's face. An earth golem would die as long as their heads were destroyed in one go or their mana cores were taken out of their chest. Fiery Fist. Air Blast. Light Ray. The three of them launched out their spells at almost the same time. The three spells flew toward the head of the golem at blinding speed. Bang! They landed accurately, and a thunderous sound rang out. Large chunks of rocks were sent flying into the air as the head of the golem was thrown back with a cloud of smoke shrouding its head. After the cloud of smoke dissipated slightly, the five people saw that half of the golem's face had been blown off by their spells and it was already trying to fix its missing face. This made the three who had attacked the golem click their tongue at the toughness of the golem's defense. Even without the golem resisting, they still didn't manage to kill it instantly. "Again, don't let it heal," Lucas shouted. He felt great hatred for the golem since it was why he had lost the chance to force Mia to go on a date with him. He immediately summoned his stars again and cast another fiery fist. The other two reacted soon and launched their own spells. With Mia and the ice mage still restricting its arms, the spells landed successfully once again. This time, the head of the golem was completely blown off and scattered into the air as stone fragments fell down like sand the next second. Its enormous body swayed after its head was destroyed, and its roars also ceased. Bang! Its body fell backwards with its hands still bound by the ice shackle and water tentacle. Its body collapsed on the ice and shattered a large area. In the distance, the members of the Rising Wave group let out a sigh of relief as their bodies relaxed. They had been watching the fight from over here, and it was as if they were the ones facing the golem. Every strike and roar shook their souls. "It's finally over, we'll be going back soon," Phil voiced out as he rested his back on the boulder with his front facing the sky that was slowly darkening. The sun had long retreated and the evening was getting stronger. Alex stood silently at the side, and stared at the frozen area in the distance, his eyes observing the remains of the golem that was being stored by Lucas. So this is how a magic beast at the mutated rank is killed, not bad. Alex thought to himself. He wondered who would win if the terror bear had fought with the golem. Alex's bet was on the terror bear because it was faster and could launch those red energy balls. but the defense of the golem seemed stronger and it could heal quickly. He concluded that it would be a hard fight and the winner was uncertain, but what he was sure about, however, was that he could kill both of them easily in a 1v2. Mia returned to the group not long after. "Let's head back to the truck, it's time to return," she announced, and a look of joy flashed across the faces of many. "How's your leg?" Mia glanced at the man on the side and asked. "Ah, thanks to you, leader. I'm all right now." The man smiled foolishly while scratching the back of his head. He could now walk on his own after the wound closed up and the pain disappeared. "Good," Mia nodded before turning her gaze away. The members of the other three groups had finished up the remainder of the horde and were busy storing the remains and mana cores when Mia and her group reached them. "We'll be going back first, you owe me one," Mia said to Lucas before proceeding to leave with her group. Lucas's face was stiff as he was unable to smile. The favor he now owed Mia was for letting his group have all of the remains from the mutated rank golem. One had to know that the remains of golems could retain mana even after being scattered into tiny bits. Those small bits could be sold independently and for a good price, too. Therefore, while the corpse of the golem counted as a single item, it could be sold for more after breaking its large body into smaller parts. The remains reaching 100 million Zen was not impossible. But just before Mia could leave with her people, a rough voice sounded from afar. "So it was them." Everyone froze after hearing the voice. Alex's eyes widened as he turned around. "No way," he exclaimed inwardly in disbelief. He wasn't the only one who was in shock. Everyone who had heard the voice slowly turned around to look at the figure in the distance. Standing at a 60 meters distance away from them were a group of 7 lizardmen. The one who had spoken just now stood in the center while 3 lizardmen stood on its left and right. The eyes of Lucas and the others trembled as a feeling of dread settled in their hearts. They couldn't be mistaken, the aura coming from the lizardman in the middle. A transformed rank magic beast. As for the 6 on its sides, they were all at the mutated beast rank. For a moment, nobody dared to move as they stared at the 7 lizardmen. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Only Alex was surprisingly observing these 7 beasts. Unlike the rest of the lizardmen that he had seen, these 7 looked more human-like. They had only 2 arms instead of 3, and their skin wasn't as rough as the others but was still covered in scales. Their eyes were smaller and more focused, and their heights matched that of adult humans. They looked like people in lizard costumes instead of beasts. Interesting. Alex thought to himself. This was the first time he had seen a transformed rank beast, and he couldn't help but get excited. But that was just him, though. The others didn't find the current situation to be exciting at all. They even felt like cursing. What the hell was wrong with this Golem Valley? They knew that beasts were more active at night, but it was only evening right now, so why were beasts popping out like worms? And it wasn't just any ordinary beast that had appeared this time, it was a group of mutated rank beasts that were led by a transformed rank beast. Was Golem Valley really determined to kill them? Chapter 95, Crafting complete. Also, the group had never heard of there being more than one mutated rank beast in Golem Valley, not to mention one that was at the transformed rank and could speak. You.R.the.ones.killing.the.beasts.of.the.golem.valley. The transformed rank lizardman spoke again, its voice rough, and its words sounded messy, like a kid who was just learning how to speak properly. No one responded to the question as they were too frightened to speak. Seeing that it wasn't going to get a response, it gave an order to the 6 lizardmen beside it. Kill them all. The 6 mutated rank lizardmen stepped forward after hearing the order. Spikes formed in their hands as they gazed at the group. At the same time, everyone woke up from their state of fear. The words of the leading lizardman had knocked them back to their senses as a thought appeared in their minds. Run. Was the thought that appeared in everyone's mind. They needed to escape. But was it even possible to run from beasts with such strength? Nevertheless, the group refused to just wait for death. Run. No one knew who shouted it, but as if it was a gunshot signaling the start of a race, many people immediately dashed in different directions as they ran for their lives. At the same time, the 6 lizardmen threw out their spikes at the scattered humans. 2 of these spikes flew towards the members of the Rising Wave group who were still standing together. Mia's eyes flashed as she instantly went forward and summoned her stars and formed a star constellation at her fastest speed. Water barrier! Mia shouted as she raised both of her hands. The members of the group behind her were startled. This was the first time they saw their leader put so much energy into casting a spell. The star constellation released a burst of blue glow as a thin water barrier instantly formed around the group, covering them in a water dome just in time for the spikes to arrive. Bam! The first spike crashed into the water dome with so much force that it sounded like a collision between speeding trains. Ripples spread across the surface of the water barrier, and it looked like it was going to disappear any moment from now, but it managed to hold. However, the second spike was what brought the barrier's downfall. The ripples caused by the first spike had yet to settle before the second spike rammed into the water barrier. With a deafening bang, Mia's shoulders trembled as she fell to one knee. The barrier also shattered into water droplets that fell on the group members, drenching them. Now, they had nothing protecting them and were exposed to all attacks. Run, take Alex and run to the truck, I'll hold them off and follow behind. Mia shouted as she forced herself to stand up. One could feel the determination from her voice. We can't leave you here. Simon protested but was suddenly silent after Mia turned her head to the side and glared at him. Leave. Your presence will only make it harder for me since I'll have to protect you all too. Don't worry, I haven't gone on enough dates yet and don't plan to die here. A playful smile stretched Mia's lips towards the end of her words. The bodies of Simon and the rest trembled. Don't plan on dying here? What's the difference between suicide and facing 6 mutated rank beasts and a transformed rank beast? Although Mia suddenly began to sound relaxed, they could clearly tell that she was sacrificing herself for them. Some of them were already tearing up as they stared at their leader's reliable back. Another spike flew in their direction but was blocked by Mia, who cast a water blade to slow it down before slapping it away, but her hand was still grazed and started to bleed. What are you still standing there for? I didn't know I had disobedient subordinates. Mia's voice rang out. Simon gritted his teeth before suddenly grabbing Alex and throwing him over his shoulder. We'll wait for you at the truck, don't take long, else we'll come back for you. He squeezed out with a face on the verge of collapse before running away. The others took one last look at Mia before running after Simon. Although leaving Mia alone was dangerous, staying with her would put her in more danger. After all, she was an expert mage and it would be easier to look after herself. Her chances of survival were high if she was alone, that was if there were any chances of survival. After Simon and the rest left, Mia turned to face the lizardman in front of her. Lucas, as well as the expert mages, had also stayed behind to block the spikes so no one was hurt yet, except for Mia, whose hand was bleeding, but such a wound was negligible. The lizardman looked at the 5 of them before the leading one said. Go. After them. All. Kill. All, its hand pointing in a direction. Immediately, Mia's eye flashed with a murderous glint. That was the direction that Simon and the rest had gone in. Did these lizardmen hold a grudge against her group or what? If they wanted to kill everyone, why attack her group first? One of the lizardmen immediately dashed in that direction. Mia moved and tried to block its path, but 3 spikes suddenly shot toward her and forced her to dodge, giving the lizardman a chance to go past her. She still didn't give up and tried to give chase, but a lizardman suddenly appeared in front of her. It was holding 2 spikes in both hands. Mia's eye flashed with a cold glint. A mutated rank beasts. She wasn't the only one having the fun. Lucas and the others were also facing a mutated rank lizardman while the strongest one watched. Foolish. Humans. Meanwhile, Alex silently stayed on Simon's shoulder as the group escaped, but he wasn't paying any attention to them as he observed Mia's situation with his senses. He believed that Mia and the others had a chance of survival after seeing how each of them had to face one of the 6 lizardmen. The only problem was the one at the transformed rank. Alex moved his attention to the lizardman that was now coming towards them. The beast was now less than 300 meters away and would arrive anytime soon. At this moment, a notification sound rang in Alex's mind and his face revealed a look of pleasant surprise. Ding! Crafting complete. After the notification, a screen with many options appeared in front of Alex's eyes. Alex's mind was blown away for a moment as he thought. It worked. Fribno Elko excitedly, Alex began to read through the options that had been created by the system. After reading for just a bit, he found one that perfectly fitted his description. Warden of the Rift, a spell that grants the host absolute sensing authority over a certain space. Nothing can be hidden from the Warden, everything can be seen, heard, and felt within the range of the spell. The Warden can see through sensory blocking formations, can hear the faintest of heartbeats, and can feel the slightest fluctuation of mana. Price 50,000 EXP. Spell rank, Archmage rank. Chapter 96, Mr. Chen. A wave of excitement surged within Alex after reading the description of the spell. It was exactly what he wanted. As long as he got this spell, he would be able to find the missing people in Balan City easily. As for the cost of crafting it, Alex wasn't shaken by it. While he might have been shocked and speechless by this amount of EXP in the past, he didn't feel it was much after seeing how many beasts were crawling in the Golem Valley. He only needed a few days to get this amount of EXP if he came here every day. And another thing, the rank of the spell was at the Archmage rank, which meant that he needed to be an Archmage to be able to use it. He glanced at his system profile at this moment. He couldn't help but let out a smile. He was at the peak stage of the Master Mage rank and had over 600 EXP, he could cross over to the Archmage rank at any moment. Everything was just working out for him. At this moment, Alex was pulled back to his senses as Simon came to an abrupt stop before dropping him to the ground. It only took Alex a moment to realize that it was because the lizardman had caught up to them and was now standing in front of them. The members of the group had anxious expressions on their faces as they stared at the beast that had blocked their path. Alex, go round and head to the truck first, we'll come after dealing with this, Simon said in a deep voice. Alex glanced at the man with the raised eyebrow. A group with just 2 core mages and lots of adept mages want to take on a mutated rank beast? What a joke. But he didn't ridicule them as he could tell that they were trying to do what Mia had done for them. They wanted to sacrifice themselves and buy time for Alex to escape. This made Alex admire them. The members of the Rising Wave group were good people. Okay. Alex nodded obediently before running off and quickly disappearing behind some large rocks. The lizardman oddly didn't give chase. Simon smiled bitterly as he watched Alex disappear into the distance. He didn't blame Alex for running away despite being stronger than many members of the group. Alex was, after all, a kid. He even felt that they were the ones to be blamed for having dragged him into such a situation on his first raid. He could only pray that Alex would get to the truck safely. The trucks weren't ordinary trucks, and the materials used to create them were sturdy and could withstand attacks from mutated rank beasts. He should be safe. Plus, the location of the trucks was far from here and the beasts would most likely not find him. The others also felt the same way. They didn't blame Alex and focused on their own predicament instead. After making sure that Alex had gone far away, Simon turned to look at the lizardman in front of them. All right everyone, let's not get depressed now and give it our all. Killing a mutated rank beast will be something we can brag about for the rest of our lives. Simon voiced out in an attempt to lift the group's fighting spirit. At the same time, the lizardman dashed toward them. Its speed was so great that even Selena and Simon were only able to see its after images. They all gritted their teeth and still summoned their stars, unwilling to give up. The lizardman arrived in front of Simon the next instant, and it stabbed at his chest with its spike. Simon's eyes looked down with shock. The speed of the lizardman had exceeded his expectations, he would not be able to dodge it. But just before the spike of the lizardman could touch his body and pierce him, a strong gust of wind blew as a figure in a dark long robe suddenly appeared out of thin air beside the lizardman and caught its hand that was holding the spike, stopping the spike at a distance of just a few centimeters away from Simon's body. Everyone, including Simon, stared at the figure who was wearing a white mask with wide eyes. MMR Chen. A while ago. After being told to leave by Simon, Alex knew that this was his chance to turn things, so he didn't hesitate before running at what would be considered the full speed of an adept mage. He crossed tens of meters in a few breaths before coming to a stop behind a large rock. After stopping, Alex immediately took out the indestructible robe and the all-knowing mask from the system. The two items were immediately equipped on his body. After he brought them out, Alex came out right after and headed back. He spread out his scenes and saw that the lizardman had gone in for an attack. Simon and the others would not be able to react and would most likely be slaughtered. As expected of a mutated ranked magic beast, it wasn't something that core mages could deal with easily. But he could not allow this to happen. Alex instantly sped up as he vanished in a flash. It was as if time had slowed down as Alex arrived beside the mutated rank lizardman and Simon in less than a second. One of his hands stretched out and easily grabbed the hand of the lizardman that was holding the spike. MMR Chen. Alex heard Simon exclaim as he stared at his mask. A faint smile formed on Alex's face, but he didn't respond. He could see the ray of hope in the eyes of everyone. He liked this feeling. It was as if he was a hero in some story. As for the lizardman, after this person suddenly appeared and grabbed its hand, its first instinct was to pull back and observe. This was the nature of lizardmen, they were cunning and would usually avoid fights that should be avoided. But to the dismay of the lizardman, it realized that it couldn't even move its arm a little bit after this person grabbed it. In retaliation, it attacked Alex's mask with its other spike. Slap! Alex's other hand moved with a speed that couldn't be measured as he slapped the lizardman across the face, accidentally slapping its head off. Alex! Simon and the others. Wasn't this lizardman a bit too weak? Everyone thought before quickly realizing that it was Mr. Chen who was simply too strong and had killed the lizardman in one slap. As for Alex, he was stunned speechless after receiving the notification from the system that he had killed a magic beast. I overestimated it. Alex sighed inwardly. He really didn't intend to kill the lizardman in one slap, but he had miscalculated. Not all mutated beasts were at the same level of defense as the terror bear and golem. The defense of the lizardman was actually on the weaker side. Well, there's nothing to be done about it. Alex tossed the body of the headless lizardman at Simon before disappearing with a gust of wind again. He headed for where Mia and the rest were still fighting. Meanwhile, Simon instinctively caught the corpse of the lizardman with a blank look on his face. Only after some seconds passed by did he come back to his senses. Alex! We have to go find Alex. All of them began to panic again. They had sent Alex ahead first because of the lizardman, but now that the lizardman was dead, they began to fear that their youngest might encounter another beast while alone. All of them hurriedly ran in the direction that Alex had disappeared to previously. Meanwhile, Alex smiled behind his mask when he saw the reaction of the group and how they hastily went to look for him. The place was still far from the location of the trucks, and it would take them some time to get there. Alex was confident of dealing with everything and then getting there before them, so he wasn't worried. Quickly reaching where Mia and the rest were facing the rest of the mutated rank lizardmen, Alex's eyes landed on the transformed rank lizardman who was watching the fight as if it was a show to it. Having fun, huh? Let me help make it more fun. Alex chuckled inwardly as his eyes flickered with purple light behind his mask. Lightning strike. Chapter 97, Mr. Chen, impressive. Two purple star patterns formed behind Alex almost instantly and a thread of lightning shot out the next moment. Its speed was so fast despite being a core rank spell as it flashed through the air and struck the lizardman that Mia was facing. Bam! The thread of lightning accurately struck the body of the beast, causing it to convulse violently in the air before falling to the ground, dead. Everyone froze upon the sudden appearance of lightning. Mia stared at the dead lizardman in front of her with shock in her eye. The blue star pattern that she had just formed seemed to have frozen as well as she didn't cast any spell. The body of the lizardman had a pitch-black scorched wound where the lightning thread had struck, and smoke rose from its body. A thick smell of burnt meat drifted through the air and invaded their noses. The other lizardmen were also looking at their dead companion, equally startled. Before they could recover from their shock, a gust of wind blew past them as a figure appeared in front of another lizardman, one of his hands poking out from underneath his robe and cracking with lightning. Spark! A hoarse voice sounded before the figure grabbed the lizardman. His hand movement was so fast that he left after images. BTZZ. Lightning ran across the body of this beast as it convulsed as well before dropping to the ground, smoke rising from its scorched body. It was dead. Everyone. The beasts were frightened by this scene. 2 mutated rank lizardmen had been killed like ants in less than 5 seconds. As for Mia, Lucas, and the other 3, they stared at the figure who had just appeared and killed 2 mutated rank beasts like it was nothing with dazed expressions. That plain white mask and long black robe, they could never forget it even though some of them had never seen them before. It was Mr. Chen. After this realization, a feeling of relief and joy surged within them. They never thought that Mr. Chen would appear in a place like this, and since Mr. Chen had arrived, then they would be able to survive this calamity. 3 of the expert mages glanced at Lucas at this point, a thought appearing in their minds. Lucas had claimed to know Mr. Chen earlier, and now Mr. Chen had appeared when they were in danger. Could it be that Mr. Chen was secretly protecting Lucas? The 3 of them could not help but admire Lucas even more. Everyone was still thinking of how to get close to Mr. Chen, but he was already so close to Mr. Chen that the other party would protect him. Their thoughts were naturally unknown to Alex, who had turned his attention to the remaining lizardmen. After 2 of their companions were killed, the other 3 hastily retreated behind the leading lizardman, who was at the transformed rank. This lizardman was quietly staring at Alex's mask, its thought unknown. Alex didn't go after them immediately. He stood in front of the group of lizardmen with Mia and the others behind him. Another human, the rough voice of the leading lizardman sounded as he kept staring at Alex. Lucas and the others stared at Mr. Chen's back, waiting for what he was going to do next. His tall back gave them a great sense of safety, like a roof shielding them from a heavy storm. From their perspective, Mr. Chen didn't respond to the words of the beast as he suddenly faded out of existence and appeared beside the lizardman the next moment. His speed was so fast that they who were at the expert mage rank could not keep up. Alex appeared beside one of the mutated rank lizardmen like a ghost before punching out. This time, he didn't hold back and used his full strength as a master rank mage to throw his fist. Bang! The air exploded as Alex's punch cut through it before slamming into the frightened lizardman. It was as if the space was about to collapse as his fist made contact with the beast's body. Pop! The body of the lizardman directly exploded like a balloon. Pieces of flesh and blood scattered into the air as a fierce wind followed. The wind from his punch was so fierce that it swept away sand and rocks in front of him. The last 2 lizardmen that were at the mutated beast rank were also sent flying away as well. Their bodies flew uncontrollably in the wind like loose kites, and they crossed tens or meters in the blink of an eye. Only the transformed rank lizardman was still standing, the ground around him looking like a ruin. Mission complete, 10 EXP. Alex wasn't done yet. His eyes stared at the 2 lizardmen that had been blown away by the force of his punch. Lightning cracked around him as stars appeared. Lightning strike, Alex whispered as his eyes blazed with purple light behind his mask. The 2 star patterns above him instantly shot out a thread of lightning that disappeared into the distance and struck the 2 beasts in the air. Mission complete, 10 EXP. Mission complete, 10 EXP. The two notifications appeared in Alex's mind as he watched the two beasts drop to the ground in the distance, smoke rising from their bodies. Mia and the rest. The five of them were stunned, amazed by Mr. Chen's fighting style and strength. Not only did he dare to directly engage the beasts at such close range, but he had killed the last two of them just right after sending them flying. Everything had happened in less than 3 seconds, it was barely even 2 seconds. The five of them had been moving their heads the entire time just so that they could see what was going on, but Mr. Chen had already cleared out all of the mutated rank lizardmen before they could even digest what was happening. This was what it meant to be an expert. No wonder the Union held Mr. Chen in high regard, he was definitely a powerful figure from a top city. Alex wasn't aware of what the people behind him were thinking. He calmly lowered his arm back under his robe before looking at the last lizardman who was at the transformed rank. A hint of curiosity sparked in his eyes as he stared at this beast. Owen had told him that the terror bear was as strong as some transformed rank beasts. This made him very curious about what a real transformed rank beast would be like. He finally got the opportunity to find out for himself. Impressive. You are strong. The rough voice of the lizardman sounded through the air. Lucas and the rest felt prideful, even a beast at the transformed beast rank acknowledged that Mr. Chen was powerful. This showed just how impressive he was. But I have to kill you. The lizardman said right after. The scales on its body wriggled like snakes as spikes began to form from them and floated in the air around the lizardman. A total of 10 green spikes had formed. Alex stared at this with surprise. This lizard could control its spike to fly. This was going to be interesting. Alex had just finished his thoughts when 6 of the spikes suddenly flew out, one shot at him while the other 5 flew towards Mia and the 4 people behind him. Alex's eyes widened behind his mask, startled by the speed of the spikes. So fast. Chapter 98, Battling a Transformed Rank Lizardman So Fast. Alex thought to himself that the speed of the spikes had exceeded his expectations. Luckily, he still had the means of dealing with them. His eyes turned purple behind his mask as purple stars appeared around him and connected into star patterns instantly. Lightning charge. Immediately after casting the spell, Alex made his move. Swoosh. He turned into a purple streak of lightning as he dashed toward the spike that was heading for Mia first. His speed far surpassed that of the spikes as he appeared beside the spike that was still on its way to Mia before grabbing it and dragging it along with him. Swoosh. 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 Alex was like a purple blur as he flickered around the place and caught all 5 spikes before going to get the one that was originally shot at him. After gathering all 5 spikes, Alex came to an abrupt stop in his original location, a strong gust of wind blowing along with his halt. Everything had happened in less than a single breath of time. Mia and the others still had their eyes wide open while everything happened. They all stared at Mr. Chen's back with utter disbelief. The last thing they saw was 5 of the lizard's spikes disappearing, and then a flash of purple light. The next thing was a gust of wind as Mr. Chen appeared in front of them with the 5 spikes in his hand. It was too unbelievable, they didn't even see what happened clearly despite being expert mages. Their eyes landed on the remaining 5 spikes that were still floating around the last lizardman. A feeling of dread settled in their hearts. They had underestimated this lizard. If not for Mr. Chen being present, the 5 of them could have very well died without even knowing how. Alex naturally didn't pay any attention to them. After gathering the 5 spikes, he returned to his previous position and gazed at the lizard who was also looking at him. Not bad, the lizard stated. Instead of a response, Alex suddenly threw the 5 spikes at it like spears. Whoosh! The sound of the 5 spikes flying through the air could be heard over a long distance. Alex's eyes narrowed behind his mask. While he hated to admit it, the speed of the spikes when he threw them couldn't be compared to when the lizard shot them out. This feeling, it was uncomfortable. A split second after Alex released the spikes, the remaining spikes that were floating beside the lizardman shot out to intercept them. Boom! The 10 spikes collided in the air between Alex and the lizardman, resulting in a series of explosions as the mana stored in each of them erupted. The shock wave was so shocking that a small pit was instantly made under the range of the explosion, and pieces of rocks were sent flying everywhere. Alex's robe fluttered violently due to the wind, but he remained standing tall like an unmovable mountain. Mia and the rest had to bend their bodies slightly to prevent getting blown away by the powerful wind. After the cloud of dust caused by the explosion settled, Alex and the lizard were now standing opposite each other with a pit between them. Another 10 spikes had formed around the lizard again. Alex's eyes flashed as his purple stars appeared around him and formed a constellation. Lightning Cage. The purple star constellation released a burst of light and countless lightning tendrils flew out from it before shooting toward the lizardman. The lizard lifted its head and looked at the incoming lightning tendrils. It wasn't about to allow itself to get caught so easily. Before the lightning tendrils could reach it, the lizardman moved. It turned into a blur that appeared meters away the next moment. Its speed wasn't slower than Alex's when he wasn't using lightning charge. The 10 spikes moved along with it and kept floating beside it. But it was as if the lightning tendrils had eyes of their own. They instantly changed their direction and went after the lizardman after it moved away. This came as a surprise to the lizard. It once again disappeared into a green blur before stopping at another location. But once again, the lightning tendrils went after it. This continued for the next 2 seconds as the lizard had already changed locations tens of times, but the lightning tendrils kept following it. All Mia and the others were seeing during those times were blurs. Their eyes couldn't keep up with the movements of the lizard and lightning tendrils. Left without a choice, the lizard sent the 10 spikes toward the lightning tendrils. Explosions rang out after spikes clashed with the tendrils, both sides countering each other. Alex looked at all this with a calm expression under his mask. He believed that he could easily defeat this lizard if he used the space element, but he couldn't in front of Mia and the rest. Guess I don't have a choice then. Alex thought to himself as purple stars appeared above him again. There were 50 stars this time that soon formed 2 large star constellations. An overbearing pressure instantly enveloped the entire space as the lightning constellations overlapped one another and covered a large area. The destructive aura of the lightning element caused the pebbles under the range of the constellations to instantly shatter into particles of fine sand while Mia and the others felt every hair on their bodies standing on ends. A master rank spell. The lizardman also sensed the powerful aura coming from the star constellations. It instantly knew that it was in danger and could no longer stay still. Swoosh. It dashed toward Alex at a blinding speed while a thin spike that resembled a long needle formed in one of its hands which it stabbed at Alex. Humans. Spells. Slow, it said. A grin formed on Alex's lips under his mask. Slow. Unfortunately, such words weren't fitted for him who could instantly cast spells with the help of his system. This made him the perfect close combat mage since he could cast spells instantly. The lizardman arrived in front of Alex almost instantly and its spike was only a few centimeters away from Alex. Other mages would definitely be unable to react since they were in the middle of casting a spell, and even if they managed to cast the spell, the attack of the lizard would land first before the spell came down. Also, if they decided to dodge, it would take them a while to form new star constellations if they cancelled this one. But this didn't apply to Alex. Just when the lizard thought it was going to succeed in stabbing Alex, the star constellations above them suddenly disappeared as Alex's hands moved. Pa! One slapped away the spike while the other grabbed the lizardman by the neck. Alex was aware of the lizard's speed and was secretly worried about it dodging the spell. The lizardman was shocked at Alex's response, but before it could do anything, the powerful pressure that had only disappeared for less than a second appeared again as 2 star constellations formed above the 2 of them and bathed them in purple light. Lightning bolt, Alex whispered with a grin under his mask. Boom. Chapter 99, Ruthless Mr. Chen, Consecutive Lightning Bolts. Lightning bolt. Boom. Lightning bolt. Boom. Lightning bolt. Mia, Lucas, and the three expert mages watching from a distance felt numb all over, their eyes blank from shock as they looked at the scene of Mr. Chen casting one lightning bolt after another. Their bodies would occasionally shudder along with the rumbling of the ground. Somehow, the three felt bad for the lizardman to have been caught by someone like Mr. Chen. They never knew that he was this ruthless. Lucas was already shivering for a different reason as he watched this scene. Everyone knew that as a mage grew stronger, the number of stars in one's soul sea would gradually increase in numbers, which were used to form channels for their mana when casting spells. The stronger the spell, the more stars were needed to channel enough mana, and the more stars that a mage needed to connect, the more time it would take. This was common knowledge for all mages, and even those who had just awakened and were at the apprentice mage rank would learn of this. It was fine to form a star pattern almost instantaneously since the stars needed were few, but what about a star constellation or two star constellations? Even for those above the master mage rank, it would still require a few breaths, unless one had practiced the forming process for tens of years. But the scene before them was defying all common sense as Mr. Chen cast one lightning bolt that required two star constellations right after one struck down. He was doing it like it was an adept rank spell. Who would not be startled to the point of one's soul leaving one's body after witnessing two star constellations appearing out of the blue? Such casting speed was simply unheard of. Lucas gulped hard, his heart beating wildly behind his rib cage as another lightning bolt struck down and drowned the lizardman as well as Mr. Chen. Rumble. The ground shook violently as if it was about to crack open. The world was painted in purple light for a moment as fierce shockwaves swept out and forced the group to close their eyes. Finally, after a few seconds, the world returned to normal, and the five of them opened their eyes to look at Mr. Chen, who was standing in the center of a pit with the limbless lizardman in his grasp. He didn't cast another lightning bolt. The lizard was finally dead. How tenacious, as expected of a transformed rank beast. Its defense is even tougher than that of the terror bear. Well, I guess it should be, since the terror bear had yet to enter the transformed rank fully when I killed it, Alex muttered to himself as a notification of him receiving 10 EXP appeared in front of him. A sigh escaped his lips as he turned around while holding the scorched corpse in his hand. The corpse had been scorched beyond recognition by his lightning bolts, and one would find it difficult to believe that it was once a powerful, transformed rank beast. A while ago, after Alex grabbed the neck of the lizardman and cast the first lightning bolt, the two of them had been struck by the spell since Alex was holding it from running away. Alex had his indestructible robe that could block an attack from a sage rank mage, so he wasn't affected by the destructive power of the spell, but the lizardman had taken the full wrath of the spell with just its scales. Alex had witnessed the scales on the body of the lizard rising slowly and forming a small protective cover around its body just before the lightning bolt had drowned the two of them in its radiance. After the spell stopped, Alex was stunned to see that the beast was still alive and had even tried to attack him. He had instantly cast another lightning bolt. If one was not enough, then take two. Yet, even after the second lightning bolt struck, the damn lizard refused to die. This had prompted Alex to start casting lightning bolts non-stop, and only stopped after confirming that the lizard was dead. Its scales had turned pitch black and smoke was constantly rising from its body. Alex turned around and looked at the five people behind him. All of them had dazed looks in their eyes as they stared back at him. Heck, Alex didn't even know if they were staring at him. They looked like soulless puppets. With a move of his hand, Alex tossed the scorched corpse toward Mia. Thud. The dead beast landed on the ground in front of Mia's feet, but she didn't react. You can keep all of the corpses, it's my gift to the Rising Wave group. Alex voiced out. He made sure to make his voice unrecognizable. Only after hearing Alex's words did the five of them come back to their senses. They all stared at the dead beast in front of Mia with complicated expressions. Was that really a powerful transformed rank beast? It looked no different from a common rank beast now that it was dead. Lucas was feeling very uncomfortable with Mr. Chen's action, and he was about to secretly slip away when Mia's voice rang out. Thank you for saving us, Mr. Chen. And I'm also thankful for giving my group ownership of these valuable corpses even though we didn't do anything to deserve such a gift, but why give it to us? Aren't you acquainted with Lucas of the Golden Tree Group? Mia bowed respectfully as she spoke softly. She felt that the gift from Mr. Chen was too much for her to accept when they didn't even know each other, but refusing it outright would be rude and disrespectful toward Mr. Chen despite his kindness. This was why she used Lucas and the Golden Tree Group as an excuse. Alex was first stunned by Mia's words. Was this what you are supposed to say after receiving a free gift from a top figure? Shouldn't you be grateful and thank me sincerely? But on second thought, a grin formed behind Alex's mask as he glanced at the blonde-haired Lucas, who looked like he had eaten a fly. This was a good opportunity to teach the scum who was taking advantage of his respected name and leeching off his reputation. What do you mean? Alex asked as he slowly approached the five. Lucas instantly felt the world go dark and he staggered backwards. Seeing his reaction, the two expert mages of the other two groups made eye contact as they felt something was wrong. Before Mia could even reply to Alex's question, the two of them stepped forward and exposed what Lucas had said earlier. He said that he was familiar with you and you agreed to join his group. He also said that he can help us get in contact with you. The two of them reported with sincere expressions. Lucas's expression was ghastly as if he was kissed by an ugly ghost as he stared at these two men. You bastards! Just a while ago, you two were flattering me and trying to get on my good side, but immediately you see an opportunity, you do not hesitate to bite me in the back. Chapter 100, Level Up or Craft Spell. Lucas froze when he saw Mr. Chen's head turn, and the white mask was now facing him. His body shuddered again as he recalled the scene of Mr. Chen drowning himself along with the lizardman in lightning bolts. Scary. He instantly averted his gaze and stared at the ground, his knees trembling. Lucas, right? I don't recall seeing you before. When did I agree to join your group? Alex said as he slowly approached Lucas. The eyes of the other two lit up after hearing this. So Lucas was deceiving them. Mr. Chen didn't even know the bastard. I am sorry, MMR Chen, I. Lucas's lips trembled as he tried to speak, but nothing meaningful came out of his mouth as he stuttered uncontrollably. Large beads of sweat formed on his forehead as he felt a piercing gaze on him. It was as if the devil was observing him. He wanted to run away. The second expert mage, who was also part of Lucas's group, watched in silence. His expression was oddly calm at this point as he watched Lucas's reaction. Alex stopped in front of Lucas. He stared at the trembling blondie and felt satisfied. This was what he wanted when he created the identity of Mr. Chen, a figure that even top figures would feel fear of but would be too wary to do anything about since they couldn't track him. Alex was about to speak when a stench suddenly entered his nose. A look of surprise flashed in his eyes as he looked at Lucas in front of him. His eyes trailed down to Lucas's legs and he could see glistening liquid running into the ground from under his pants. Alex. Did this man just pee on himself? Maybe he scared him a bit too much. What a shame. Alex shook his head before turning around and walking away. Mia and the rest also noticed the situation with Lucas. All of them gave him a disdainful look and didn't feel sorry for him. Serves him right for lying with Mr. Chen's name. I won't take back what I have already given out, they are useless to me anyway. Alex voiced out while looking in Mia's direction, pulling the woman's attention back to him. Mia was stunned by his words but quickly thanked him. Since it was already like this, she would be an ungrateful person to still reject it. Alex smiled behind his mask after Mia thanked him. He didn't feel bad about giving out the corpse of a transformed rank beast. Mia and the rest of the group had tried to use their lives to help him escape. Alex even felt that these beasts' corpses were not enough to repay them, but it was the least he could do now, anymore, and it might start to get suspicious. Good, gather your group members and leave the Golem Valley, don't come back here for some time, it isn't safe, Alex stated before starting to walk away. He admired himself for spitting profound nonsense, What dangers were in the Golem Valley? Well, there were dangers, but that wasn't why he had told them not to come for the time being. The truth was that he planned to farm EXP points in this place for the following days so he could craft his spell and didn't want any distractions. Realizing that Mr. Chen was about to leave, the leaders of the other two groups immediately rushed forward as they wanted to have a few words with him, but they realized that Mr. Chen was already gone. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. The two men let out helpless sighs before turning their attention to Mia. Their eyes flashed with determination. "Miss Mia, you must be tired. Let me gather the corpses for you. Miss Mia, we aren't strangers. If your group needs any help, please feel free to inform my Iron Star group, and we'll do everything we can to help." The two of them instantly tried earning Mia's favor, ignoring Lucas, who had dropped to the ground by now. They weren't idiots. Out of everyone, Mr. Chen had given everything to Mia instead of sharing it between them. It was obvious that they had a sort of connection. Getting on her good side would help them to meet Mr. Chen in future instead of a fake like Lucas. Mia. How could she not tell what these two were thinking, but would they believe her if she said she didn't even know Mr. Chen and this was her first time seeing him? Therefore, Mia shut her mouth and allowed them to help her. Who wouldn't want two expert mages who were willing to do one free favor? As for Lucas, he was helped up by his group member and the two of them left the place. Lucas had a lifeless look as he walked. He had almost been embarrassed to death after Mr. Chen exposed him. He felt like he was currently wearing a crown of shame that was glowing so much that it could blind the world. Meanwhile, after leaving the place, Alex made his way toward the trucks. He kept the mask and robe back in the system as he crashed kilometers every second. He glanced at the system along the way. After killing the 7 beasts, his EXP had risen to 740 points. 70 points from the beasts and 10 points from completing the weekly mission again. Alex could level up 7 times with this amount of EXP, but he didn't. He was going to save up for the spell he was planning to craft first. Freeobnovel.com 50k EXP points. I could easily reach the Sage rank and even higher with that amount of EXP, my strength would definitely reach the peak, Alex muttered to himself. Before, it would be difficult to get so many EXP points from his previous hunting area as he was unwilling to go deeper into the forest. But now that he had discovered a place with hundreds of weak beasts crawling around, Alex didn't think getting that amount of EXP was impossible anymore. He was now contemplating if he could craft the system or use everything to increase his strength. If he was to use everything to increase his strength, he could easily reach the highest rank of mages, and he would be unrivaled, but was that really all he needed to solve the case of missing people? While his mage sense would become stronger after reaching the peak, it would still have limitations and not be like the Warden of the Rift spell. Plus, the space element didn't have any powerful detecting spell like the Warden of the Rift. He would need to create one if he wanted after reaching the Sage rank. The same was true for the lightning element. This one was even worse as it didn't have anything concerning detection. The lightning element was straight up destructive and could even be said to be the barbarian among elements. I'll craft the spell and rescue the missing children first. I can always come back to level up after that. Alex came to a conclusion after thinking for a while. He arrived at the location of the trucks at this moment and casually walked toward the truck that he had come in. He entered and sat inside. Not long after, Simon and the others could be seen rushing over with anxious faces. A look of relief filled their faces when they saw him sitting inside the truck with an innocent expression. "You're all back, are we leaving now?" Alex waved at them with a big smile, his full set of white teeth showing. Chapter 101, Visitors. Mia returned after a while. She was relieved to see that everyone was safe and not injured. When she asked about the lizard that had gone after them, the group reported that Mr. Chen had arrived just before they could get hurt. Mia also told them what had happened after Mr. Chen found them and the gifts he had given to the group. This information stunned everyone, and they asked why Mr. Chen had done so. Only after Mia told them that Lucas didn't know Mr. Chen did they realize why they had received the corpses instead of Lucas. That's great news. Could it be that Mr. Chen is interested in our group? After all, it's still questionable why he didn't split it between all of you there and only gave everything to you. A member said as they entered the trucks. Since no one was hurt and danger had been avoided, the group were now able to joke around. Someone even said that it might be because Mr. Chen was interested in their leader, Mia, and that the beast corpses were a courting gift. To this, Alex had flashed a blank look on his face and pretended not to hear, but Mia's response to those words caused him to blush heavily. If that's the case, then I would gladly invite him to my room the next time we meet and sleep with him. A senior always told me that if you meet someone you like, spread your legs and never let them go. Who wouldn't want to become Mr. Chen's partner? Everyone laughed after Mia said this. They all knew that she was joking and wasn't really going to do that. Alex knew this too but couldn't help blushing regardless as images formed in his mind. Why are women in this world so bold with their words and actions? There's a freaking kid here, he shouted inwardly, feeling that his innocence was being tainted the longer he was around this woman with an eye patch. The trucks began to move and soon left the rocky road and entered the official road. They sped back toward Balon City under the dim light of the golden sky as evening approached quickly. As they drove, Mia shot a glance at Alex who was sitting beside her and a small smile formed on her lips. It wasn't a teasing smile like usual but a sincere, tired smile. I'm glad you didn't get hurt. I wouldn't have allowed you to come if I knew this was going to happen. Your first raid turned out to be a near-death event, Mia muttered before resting her head on the car seat. She didn't know how she was supposed to explain things to Alex's mother. If something had happened to Alex, would she even have been able to return alive to give an explanation? Thankfully, Mr. Chen had arrived in time and saved her from the calamity. She didn't know why Mr. Chen was at the Golem Valley, but she was happy he had come. The thought of this made her smile grow warmer and a faint blush surface on her cheeks. Yeah, she was really grateful to Mr. Chen. Beside her, Alex was about to say that he didn't blame her for what happened at the Golem Valley when his body suddenly shuddered. Alex frowned. Who the hell is having indecent thoughts about me? The 4 trucks drove quickly and arrived at the border of Balon City before nightfall. They passed through the checkpoint at the border without any issues and drove into the city. Many minutes later, they reached the group's base where the 4 trucks stopped and everyone came down. While the rest of the group went inside the building, Mia called Simon over to take Alex home. Of course, she was going to ride with them, she only needed Simon to drive, as in her words. It was exhausting. Simon didn't complain and happily came over. They didn't take any of the trucks and drove a smaller car instead. The raid was the means for explorer groups to raise funding for the group expenses and payment of members, so Alex didn't need to wait for his share and could go home first. They reached the outskirts sometime later and soon arrived in front of Alex's place. While Simon waited in the car, Mia and Alex went into the house. They were welcomed by Alex's parents and sister, who were nervously waiting for Alex to return. They were already on the verge of calling his phone if the time reached 2100 hours and he wasn't back yet. Mia apologized for making Alex stay out so long. Zoran told her it wasn't her fault and she didn't need to apologize since dealing with magic beasts could be unpredictable. He wasn't a mage, but he understood this concept. Alex's mother didn't pay attention to the two as she focused on inspecting her son and making sure that Alex wasn't hurt anywhere. Mia left soon after. She didn't speak about what had happened during the raid, and Alex wasn't planning to tell either. He knew how his mother was. She would definitely try to stop him from being an explorer anymore if she knew that all of them had almost died outside today. After Mia left, Alex was told to go wash up while his mother set up dinner with the help of Emily. Dinner had already been prepared some time ago and they just had to set up the table. Alex was quick and soon returned downstairs after washing up and changing into fresh clothes. The family ate together while listening to Alex talk about his day. Emily had asked with sparkling eyes, She knew that her brother was now an explorer and was facing scary beasts. She was filled with excitement as Alex talked about how they had killed lots of beasts. His parents also listened with rapt attention. His mother was escaping, waiting to hear anything that could be her reason to oppose Alex's work as an explorer, but Alex was very careful with what he said. He emphasized very much how he had killed lots of beasts under the protection of Mia and the others. His words made it sound like killing beasts wasn't anything special. Just keep them at a distance and shoot spells at them. This made his mother stare at him with suspicion. She knew that being an explorer and killing magic beasts wasn't as easy as Alex was making it seem to be, because she had heard cases of explorers dying to magic beasts before. Such cases weren't rare. Being an explorer always involves danger. Unable to find any flaw in Alex's words, his parents concluded that Mia must have picked a safe place with weak beasts in consideration for Alex. This made them feel very relieved. They had made the right choice of having Alex join Mia's group. After dinner, everyone returned to their rooms to rest for the night. Closing the door behind him, Alex fell face first on the bed. He was contemplating whether he should sleep or read tonight. As a master mage, he could go without sleep for a few days, but the thing was, he had been doing this for a few days already. At this moment, Alex suddenly felt something. He raised his head from the bed and his eyes were narrowed. He instantly spread his senses and covered nearly the entire outskirt. His eyes flashed after noticing what he had felt earlier. 5 figures were currently approaching their house in a circular formation. They had surrounded the old building that was Alex's home on every possible escape route and were less than 10 meters away. Alex raised an eyebrow in confusion. Why would anyone target his home? He didn't remember offending anyone recently. Or did he? Well, that wasn't important right now. Alex was going to see what was going on outside. Void walk. Alex muttered in his mind, activating the system's skill. The notification of the void walk being activated appeared in front of him as his perception changed to a bird-like view. He was now staring at the area around their house from above. Just like before, Alex could see the streets and buildings, but he couldn't see any living being. This was the only flaw of the skill and prevented it from being a top-tier scouting skill. But it made up for this flaw since no one could sense it, so it was still fine. After looking around, Alex picked a spot for the other side of the void gate to appear. It was right above their house. After picking the spot, his view returned to normal and he could see inside his room. The next moment, the space in front of Alex rippled before a pathway tore through the fabric of reality, revealing the entrance of a familiar white space. "Let's go see who's sneaking around," Alex muttered to himself as he stepped into the white space while summoning the all-knowing mask and the indestructible robe. Chapter 102, Strange Creatures. Unlike the rest of Balan City, where street lamps lit up the streets, the outskirts were particularly dark at night, and visibility was very low if someone was outside their house. The space above Alex's house ripped before tearing open and creating the other end of the void walk. No one other than Alex could see this gateway or the white space that it led to. Alex slowly stepped out unnoticed. He was already in the indestructible robe and white mask. His body blended well into the darkness around the building, and one could easily miss him. After stepping out of the white space, Alex looked around as his eyes landed on the 5 figures that he had sensed earlier. The 5 figures were slowly approaching within the darkness, but Alex only grew more curious after looking at them. He couldn't feel any energy from them. They didn't feel like humans, nor were they magic beasts. If not for the overwhelming murderous aura that was rising from their bodies, Alex would not have discovered them until they reached their house. His eyes pierced into the darkness from behind his mask as he observed the 5 figures. Hairy bodies like those of monkeys with abnormally long arms that reached the ground despite them standing straight, sharp long nails that resembled wood shafts stretched from their fingers. Their faces resembled those of humans, but their expressions were very twisted as if frozen in a moment of agony. Their eyes were pitch black with glowing red pupils that gazed at the building, which was Alex's home. Alex felt strange staring at these creatures that looked like a mix between humans and magic genre beasts. Their physiques were very human-like, and one of them even had the same shape as that fatty who had asked for Emily as payment for his parents' debt, but their beastly features like abnormally long arms and hairy bodies made it clear that they weren't humans. But Alex was sure that they weren't magic beasts. Just what are these creatures? Alex mumbled to himself. He spread out his senses to scan the surroundings to see if he would find anything else suspicious, but he couldn't. He could sense some people in alleys in the distance and people in nearby houses, but those were normal in the outskirts. He could feel the presence of another mage or a powerful magic beast. Alex returned his attention to the 5 figures closing in on his home after withdrawing his senses. He could only hope that they could communicate. He was thinking of questioning them after he captured them. With that thought in mind, Alex moved. Swoosh. Under the cover of the night, the indestructible robe was hard to notice as Alex flashed toward the nearest creature like a shadow in the darkness. He appeared in front of it suddenly, startling the creature. The eyes of the creature gleamed brightly when someone suddenly appeared in front of it. It immediately attacked with strong killing intent rising out of its body. Its long arms shot at Alex like ropes with its long nails ready to claw at him. Alex's face remained unchanged as he casually raised his left hand and grabbed the creature's arms, squeezing both hands tightly so that they fit in his palm as he locked them in place. Bone-cracking sounds rang through the darkness as the bones in the creature's hands shattered under the force of Alex's grip. Blood immediately gushed out as some of the broken bones stabbed through the creature's flesh. Shocking enough, the creature didn't make a sound after its arms were broken. It tried to break free from Alex's grasp instead, further causing more damage to its already broken arms. A look of surprise appeared on Alex's face behind his mask. Not only did this creature seem to be unable to feel pain, but its strength was at the same level as a common rank beast. But such strength was laughable in front of Alex. He was only surprised because he wasn't able to feel any power from the creature just from looking at it. Seeing that it was unable to break free from Alex's restraint, the creature threw itself at him. Its mouth opened wide and revealed a set of sharp brown teeth that resembled shark teeth. Alex was certain that those teeth could bite through metal. His right hand moved the next moment and he sent a slap to the face of the creature. Paw! The body of the creature that was in the air was forcefully sent flying to the side after Alex's palm made contact with the side of its face. Blood and broken teeth came flying out of the creature's mouth. Due to Alex still holding its arms, it wasn't able to fly far before it was pulled back and dropped in front of Alex. What are you and why are you here? Alex stared down at the creature and asked coldly, his voice filled with killing intent. But instead of answering, the creature suddenly lunged at Alex's foot before it even got up as it tried to bite him with whatever was left in its mouth. Alex was speechless, baffled at how unreasonable this creature was. Bam! Alex's foot moved like lightning as he kicked the creature in the face. This time, it didn't end with just a few teeth flying out. The face of the creature turned bloody after receiving Alex's kick. But even after that, it still tried to attack again. Alex. He was now sure this creature couldn't feel any pain, and in addition to that, it was impossible to communicate with them. After coming to this conclusion, Alex didn't plan on keeping them alive anymore since it would be meaningless to interrogate such unreasonable creatures. Smack! Alex pulled the creature close before landing a powerful slap on its face. Crack! The force of the slap instantly broke the creature's neck, and it stopped moving. It was dead. After killing it, Alex didn't receive any notification of killing a magic beast. This once again confirmed that these creatures weren't magic beasts. He silently kept the creature's body in his storage ring before dashing toward the remaining 4. One after the other, Alex killed all of them with a single slap. He didn't want to cause a commotion that might end up alerting his parents. He was secretly grateful to these creatures as well since they didn't make any sounds. Only when he reached the 5th creature did Alex find a change. It was the creature that had the same body shape as that fatty. Immediately after the creature saw Alex, its red pupils gleamed brightly. "No. Please. Give me another chance." The creature stuttered as it attacked Alex with its arms. Alex was stunned when he heard this. Feeling that he had found a means of getting some information, Alex didn't kill the creature instantly and tried to ask questions. But he was left questioning himself after the creature kept repeating the same words over and over again. It was as if those were the only words it knew. Why did I even bother? Alex sighed before grabbing the neck of the creature and snapping it. After keeping the corpse in his storage ring, Alex ended the void walk skill before activating it again. This time, he opened the second gateway in the commercial district. He was going to the Union Building. Chapter 103, Dark Beasts FribNovel.com. Alex stepped out of the white space in a quiet corner before ending the void walk skill. The streets were well lit in the commercial district due to the many street lamps along the roadside, and people could be seen enjoying the nightlife of the city. No one seemed to notice Alex's appearance. He quietly made his way toward the tall building in the distance, which was the Union Building. He reached it after a few seconds and entered. Alex was a bit surprised to see that many people were still on the down floor of the building, but he didn't show it out as he silently approached the counter. "Mr. Chen? You came so late today." Before he could reach the counter, a voice called out from the side. Alex felt that that voice sounded familiar. He turned his head to look and saw Sub-Elder Lance smiling at him. The man was in a long purple coat and holding another strange item in one of his hands. "Do you have any business here today? I can attend to you." Lance initiated. He wasn't offended by Mr. Chen's lack of response. Aside from Mr. Chen very much being a very powerful mage, Lance had so much respect for him after finding out that Mr. Chen might be a master appraiser. Is the branch leader around? I need to speak with him." Alex asked in a hoarse voice. Lance had a confused expression on his face when he heard this. He glanced around before asking Mr. Chen to follow him. Both of them made their way toward the elevator. Along the way, Lance informed Alex that the branch leader had gone to the Union Corps, which was located at the capital, and was yet to return. "Is the matter very serious?" "All of the elders and sub-elders are present. We can assist Mr. Chen on behalf of the branch leader," Lance said with a serious face. Okay," Alex replied shortly. Lance immediately took out his phone before making a few phone calls and asking Owen and the others to meet him at a certain meeting room. He also told them that it involved Mr. Chen. After ending the last call, Lance turned to look at Mr. Chen beside him before saying, "We're going to meet them now." Alex nodded without saying a word. Lance turned silent as well, and the elevator quietly rose higher. They stopped at a floor after rising for a few seconds before coming out of the elevator. Lance led the way, and Alex quietly followed behind. Reaching their destination, Alex saw that it was a meeting room with a long executive desk that was fixed to the floor and many seats around it. 4 people were already waiting for them when they entered the room, and the 4 of them immediately stood up after noticing their entry. Alex glanced at the 4. He was already familiar with Owen, Sylvia, and Marco, but he didn't know the last person. Noticing Mr. Chen's gaze, the last figure immediately offered a smile and introduced himself. His name was James, and he was one of the sub-elders of this Union branch. 1 master rank mage and 4 at the expert mage rank. Not bad. Alex thought to himself. He felt that the strength of this Union branch could be considered amongst the top in Balon City, and only the academy was close to them. Without wasting time, Lance quickly offered Alex a seat before finding a seat himself. "Lance informed us that you have something important to discuss with us. Is there something that Mr. Chen needs the Union's help with?" Sylvia was the one who spoke first. She was the strongest elder, so the others didn't have any problems with her taking the lead. Instead of answering, Alex waved his hand to the side and took out the 5 corpses from his storage ring. They appeared on the floor beside him the next moment, and everyone's eyes were instantly attracted to them. A shocked look appeared on their faces the moment Owen and the others saw the corpses of the 5 creatures. Their eyes widened, and their mouths hung open. These are dark beasts," Lance exclaimed as he rose from his seat and approached the 5 corpses. The others also recovered from their shock and went over to take a proper look. Alex lifted an eyebrow behind his mask as he thought to himself. Dark beasts? What are dark beasts? He was sure that these things weren't magic beasts since he didn't receive any EXP points for killing them. But wouldn't it be weird if he asked what a dark beast was? Surely, they would expect someone like him to know about it since even those who were in the small Balan city knew about it. Sigh, pretending to be an expert can be hard sometimes. If only I could get information on them, Alex sighed inwardly as he watched the group inspect the dark beasts, his breath brushing against his face after bouncing off his mask. Alex's eyes lit up. That's right, his mask, he exclaimed as he recalled that he had an all-knowing mask. Alex really felt like facepalming right now. He had forgotten such an important matter and had come all the way here when he couldn't even ask questions freely. How stupid was he to forget such a matter? While Owen and the others were still looking at the corpses, Alex activated the skill of the mask and looked at the creatures. A screen instantly popped up in front of him. Dark beasts, creatures that used to be humans but have undergone baptism through a special ritual and are now neither humans nor beasts. They have turned into empty shells filled with resentment and can be controlled through a special mark. Alex. He was stunned after reading the description of the dark beasts. Used to be humans but changed into such hideous creatures because of a ritual? How demonic. Wait, doesn't that mean, a thought formed in Alex's mind as they stared at the creature that resembled that fatty, it couldn't be, right? At this moment, Sylvia turned back to face him. Mr. Chen, please can you tell us where you found these dark beasts? I believe that they may be related to the Dark Union, she asked in a serious tone. Alex didn't mind telling her. He said to have encountered them on the outskirts of the city but didn't say it was around his home. I see, then the Dark Union must be behind the recent kidnappings. These dark beasts are a trademark of the Dark Union. They must have been trying to kidnap more children in the outskirts. Luckily, Mr. Chen was around and prevented another sad family, Marco added with a solemn look on his face. Mr. Chen, did you find anyone around the place where you found these dark beasts? Someone usually has to control them, they shouldn't have been far away. Owen asked, his face showed a worried look. Alex shook his head without saying anything. He was in his own thoughts. He now knew everything that he needed to know about these creatures after reading the information from the all-knowing mask and from the words of Owen and the others. He planned to go back and check around again just to be safe, but a question still lingered in his heart. The dark beasts belonged to the Dark Union and needed someone to control them, so why was the Dark Union targeting his home?